Good morning, members of JV Nagar Study Circle. I hope everybody had enjoyed Holi, as this occasion we got after 2 years on account of Corona. Today we had two virtual sessions on bank branch audit. In the first session, our past president Amarjit Chopra sir is going to cover the overview of bank branch audit, and in the next session we are going to cover the NPA management and other things. Now I'm sharing my screen for the institute motto, and members are requested to put their hand in this position, and I'm sharing my institute motto.
येष सुप्तेषु जागृति येष सुप्तेषु जागृति कामं 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 कामपुरुषो पुरुषो निर्विमानः तदेव शुक्रं तदेव शुक्रब्रह्मा तद्ब्रह्मा तदेवामृतमुच्यते तस्मिन् लोकः शतः सर्वे तदूनात्यपि कश्चनात्यपि कश्चन एतद्वैत 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 एतद्वैत
Thank you. So today we had with us very renowned personality, our beloved past president CA Dr. Amarjit Chopra sir. And Amarjit sir is having the mastery in bank audit, and he is also done his PhD recently in NPA management in banks. Now I request our core group member and past convener CA Manish Jedia ji to formally introduce Chopra sir. Over to you, Manish ji.
Thank you, Krishna ji. It's my pleasure to introduce a legend in a way for today's seminar. Today's topic, bank branch audit, and we have none other than our past president, Amarjit sir, to give his perspective on the topic. He is no new to this August gathering, but I would not like to leave my option of giving this introduction. I will do it in a very brief, although it can run into pages and time. But with his vast experience of 4.5 decades, you can understand how much big I can talk on. But to summarize and brief it, he has a vast experience of as a chartered accountant professional career of more than 4.5 decades. He had become a CA in 1975 and practicing as an practicing in all the fields, majorly in auditing and financial sectors. He has been recently awarded as a PhD on subject NPA management in banks, a comparison of public sector and private sector banks in India. We congratulate him for the same. He has served NCR as a chairman in 1988-89 and a president in 2010-11. He had been on board of various banks and financial institutions like Bank of Baroda, Indian Bank, IRDA, South Asia Federation of Accountants. He has been chairman to National. Sorry, sir. He has been chairman of National Advisory Committee on Accounting Standards during 2014 to 18 as a government nominee. He has been served as a technical advisor to International Auditing and Assurance Standard Board, IFAC, and been member as a professional accountancy organizing committee of IFAC for the period 2011 to 2014. He is an honorary member of Australian Institute of Chartered Accountant and permanent lifetime member of International Association of Accountants, London. He is a regular speaker on various topics on a national and international platforms. He has delivered more than 3,000 lectures and is a regular contributor to various articles in various professional literatures. With this short, brief background and introduction, I invite Amarjit sir to this August gathering. Over to you, Krishna sir.
So today we had with us our own past convener, WRC chairman, past WRC chairman and past Central Council member Sanjeev Maheshwari ji, who had also been with Mr. Chopra sir for 2 consecutive terms. So I request Sanjeev sir to say a few words. Over to you, Sanjeev ji.
Good morning and good morning to all. Thank you, convener. And friends, it's indeed a privilege to have with us at our study circle our very own Amarjit Chopra ji. I think there are professionals, there are past presidents, and there are people who speak regularly on the ICA forum. But I think the first name when you close your eyes and think in terms of a past president who has contributed on the technical side, who has had a vision for the profession, who is completely dedicated to the cause of the profession. I think the first name that comes to my mind is Amarjit Chopra ji.
Right.
I have indeed been privileged to work with him. When I joined Central Council, when I entered Central Council, he was the guide and mentor. He was among the senior Central Council members there. And they did a lot of hand holding in terms of guiding the youngsters of what is expected by the profession, what is expected at the Central Council, how do you perform in each of these committees. And actually that helped me throughout my journey as a Central Council member. And I must say more particularly that post his term in the Central Council and when I was still in the Central Council and I was the chairman of Accounting Standard Board, I had an opportunity of leading the ASB and the council in terms of the bringing of Ind AS into the country. And at that point of time, to my luck and the benefit that I had, Chopra ji was the chairman of NACAS. And it made our journey so simple, so comfortable that we could actually discuss with him every point because we had a person on the regulatory side who had a complete understanding of the profession. And it is not just the profession. He had very deep insights into the industry, into the banking element, into the accounting standards, the standards on auditing. And I think a 360-degree perspective of what the audit profession needs, what the accounting profession needs, no other guidance can come better than what comes from Chopra ji. Chopra ji has also been a very strong propagator because when he addresses the profession, I have seen that he talks from the regulatory framework in terms of what is the expectation of the regulator, how the CA profession should go to the next level, how we should avoid the kind of living in old age of looking at the fees, not as much on the not as much on the quality of the services. And I think he's been a constant propagator of improving of quality. But at the same time, when I have seen him interacting as a council member, as a president with the regulators, I've seen him taking very strong stands with respect to the profession. And I think that's the blend which brings this gentleman to be among the finest professional in this country. And sir, we are indeed privileged to have you here at our JB Nagar Study Circle. And I'm sure I'm not really going to talk on the bank branch audit subject because that's a subject where you are there and where there are other professionals which are there. We are indeed delighted to have you here and we welcome you whole with our whole heart and look forward to see you in person. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Manish ji, and thank you, Sanjeev ji. Of course, Krishan Kumar ji, the convener of the study circle, and I can see Piyush Chhajar ji also on the screen. And I will never forget that SP Chhajar ji, the illustrious father, was the first vice president whom we elected the moment I entered the council. So I think there has been a very, very strong bonding. And I'm yet to come across a more simple person in the council. Actually, I have not come across a more simple person than him in my life, basically. And despite the fact that he was the president, so anyway, Sanjeev ji has said certain things. I am really grateful to him for all his generous words. But I must say that he has been one council member who was totally committed to the cause of the profession. And when he took over as ASB chairman, let me be very honest, people were not believing that he will be doing justice to the role, but he did justice to the role much better than so many other stalwarts. I can tell him on his face today. Because he really did a commendable job, because I interacted with him as the Nakash chairman, and I think he missed the bus by a whisker somewhere, but that is what the destiny is, because this is written here. You can't take it away. But then I think today he's on the board of the largest bank of this country, and I can wish him and pray for all his success. And I am sure that he will add many laurels before he actually takes the retirement from the profession, which nobody takes, very frankly. When you are in the profession, you never take the retirement. That is what happens. And I'm sure that the way he's contributing to State Bank of India, whatever I've heard about him in State Bank of India, it has been all positive, absolutely positive. So I think it's a great thing. Sanjeev, I can wish you all the best in the years to come. God bless you. You have been such a fantastic colleague in the council and outside the council. I think you are one person I can pick up the phone and talk to you, say you something, ask you something. Absolutely remarkable. I think we have enjoyed the kind of relationship which few people can enjoy. We have fought also. ऐसा नहीं कि झगड़ा नहीं हुआ, झगड़ा भी होता है, झगड़ा तो होना ही चाहिए. जब दो दोस्त होंगे तो उनमें झगड़ा होना बहुत जरूरी है. तो झगड़ा नहीं हो तो ठीक नहीं है. Anyway, I start on the note of happy Holi to everybody, though it's a slightly belated one, 2 days late. May the colors of Holi spread in the life of everyone and bring peace, prosperity, and happiness in the life of every one of you. I can only say that the panel reached the banks only yesterday morning. Rather, it was only the day of Holi when the panel reached not yesterday, day before. And the total amount of advances which are to be audited now has been reduced from 90% to 80%. And what I am given to understand is, of course, earlier the Reserve Bank of India wanted it to be reduced to 70% from 90%. But then the institute's representatives, whether it was the president, Mr. Devashish Mitra and Dr. Devashish Mitra, and of course, Kamisha Soni, they took up the matter with the Deputy Governor and the other authorities of the Reserve Bank of India, and ultimately it has been brought down to 80% rather than 70%. But the consequence of 80%, bringing it down to 80% is that I think in most of the banks, maybe out of 12 or 13 banks, at least in 9 of the banks or 8 of the banks, there are no vacancies this year, so far as the branch auditors are concerned. That is the kind of situation we have ended up in. If it was 70%, probably they would have found it difficult to accommodate even the existing auditors. That's the kind of situation. I think today what is being talked of is that there are only 2 banks where there are vacancies, so with a much reduced number. One is probably the State Bank of India, where Sanjeev is there, and one is probably where Piyush is there as the auditor, Central Bank of India. I don't know other names because Canara Bank, I am sure that there is no vacancy. Bank of India also, I am told there is no vacancy. And I am told that there is no vacancy even in Union Bank of India for that matter. These are big banks, basically. And if there are no vacancies then there cannot be vacancies in banks like the Bank of Maharashtra or Punjab and Sindh Bank for that matter. And the writing is on the wall. I can tell you this. It has come down to 80% this year. It may come down to 70% in the next 2 to 3 years, and it may come down to 60% soon, sometime later. And we should not ignore these warnings. Let's be very clear so far as this particular issue is concerned. And why it has happened, I think that also we should look into very clearly. There are 2 or 3 reasons for this. Number one reason is that all the banks have gone into computerization. All public sector banks have also gone into the IT system. They have adopted IT. Whereas in the case of the private sector banks, the IT was adopted right on the birth of these banks. But in the case of the public sector banks, the IT has been adopted now in the last few years. We are still having some kind of branch audits in the public sector banks because of the reason that their records are not digitized today. In the case of the private sector banks, all their records are digitized. Even the loan documents, etc., all are digitized, and the central auditors can conduct the audit sitting over in the head office. The day the records will be digitized, even in the case of the public sector banks, what will happen to the branch audit, nobody knows, and this is not likely to happen beyond a period of 5 years. I think it will happen within a period of 5 years. So I think we have to prepare the profession for that kind of an eventuality. And the second thing that we should be very clear is, one of the arguments which the Finance Ministry and the Reserve Bank of India, the IBA has been giving, IBA is in Indian Bankers Association, which has been going to the Reserve Bank of India and the Ministry, is that if you look at the audit fee of the ICICI, IDFC, Axis Bank, IDBI Bank, this may be 1/10 or 1/15 of the total audit fee which is being paid by banks like State Bank of India or Punjab National Bank or Canara Bank or Bank of Baroda for that matter. Now the bankers have been asking, or rather the RBI has been asking the institute a question, is it the cost of nationalization? If your central auditors in the private sector banks don't require the branch audit to be conducted, and they are also part of our membership, very frankly, then why is it that the auditors of the public sector banks, central auditors, they say that or insist upon the branch audits to be conducted? The answer for that is the digitization of the records. And the other thing is that in the long form audit report, I can tell you that one has been talking informally to some of the people in the banking industry, including at certain other levels. And one has been able to convince them that till the time you digitize the records, and then there are so many requirements of the long form audit report which have to be commented upon, which cannot be commented upon without going to the branches. So far the branch audit has survived in the public sector banks. But what will happen in the days to come, nobody knows. My humble request to the entire membership is, and I think this is something which Sanjeev would agree with me, I have been saying for ages now. Probably our profession cannot depend upon the branch audit and the tax audit for the purpose of the opportunities. Because we have all seen what has happened to the tax audit, from 40 lakh rupees to what kind of threshold limit has come in. So probably we have to be prepared mentally for all these kind of eventualities. हमें भूलना नहीं चाहिए कि हम कहाँ पे खड़े हैं और हम कहाँ पे स्लिप कर सकते हैं. तो मेरे ख्याल में अगर हम सिर्फ बैंक ब्रांच ऑडिट की वजह से प्रैक्टिस शुरू करना चाहते हैं या टैक्स ऑडिट की वजह से प्रैक्टिस शुरू करना चाहते हैं और ये समझते हैं कि भी इसमें हमें और इंस्टीट्यूट को भी, एक बात मैं बिल्कुल क्लियर हूँ, our PD committee should start looking at different kind of opportunities to be created for the members. And I'm very clear that the members in the Mufassil towns particularly are going to suffer if the branch audit and the tax audit go out as the opportunities. But I think the membership will have to decide, because you don't require large firms if you are willing to do FEMA. You don't require large firms if you are willing to do GST work. If you are willing to do the appellate work for the income tax, there you don't require larger firms. You require larger firms when you are getting into the area of practice where you want to do audit also, tax also, FEMA also, GST also. But I can tell you, in this very profession, there are people who are doing wonderfully well, focusing only on one of the areas. It could be FEMA, it could be PMLA, it could be GST, it could be income tax, it could be anything. It could be only forensic audits for that particular purpose. So my humble request is that we have to decide, we have to start thinking in terms of it. And one thing that I will like to say is that there is no solution now to one fact, that if we are not getting into the IT part as a professional, will be outdated very, very soon. And institute will do well to actually acquaint the entire membership with the IT system audits. I think वो जो डीसा था हमारा, जिस टाइम में हमने डीसा इंट्रोड्यूस किया था, उस वक्त का डीसा और आज की डीसा के रिक्वायरमेंट्स आर गोइंग टू बी एंटायरली डिफरेंट. You cannot just pass the examination. You have to be doing handhold experience basically. You have to be on the job experience, having on the job experience so far as this audit is concerned. Whether it is forensic audit, this is internal audit, this is statutory audit, whatever audit you may do, you require. I can tell you in the COVID period, and I think Sanjeev ji will bear me out, some of the branch auditors said how we can conduct the audit sitting over at home. And when even they were given access to the system, some of them have given disclaimers, they have given qualified reports that we could not verify the records. Now, if we know IT audit, for that matter, I think we will have to do it. Physical verification of the inventories during the COVID period in the case of the various companies has been conducted based upon the video recordings, based upon certain other drones, etc. Because as we get into the IT era, when we get into the even artificial intelligence era, I think the audit is going to be entirely different. And we should not be seen by a Reserve Bank of India that we are a profession where the IT audit has not been introduced to the extent that it should have been introduced. But we are not acquainted with the IT systems as we should have been actually acquainted with. These are my opening remarks, basically, because I personally feel the younger generation in this profession is going to be very, very crucial for the laurels to be brought to this profession. We, at our age, it may be very difficult to learn this IT, very frankly. But at younger age, people like Piyush, for that matter, or people like Krishnaji, they will be able to do wonderfully well when it comes to the IT. Because at our age, we feel shy, and sitting 24 hours before the computer, or maybe even 10 hours or 12 hours before the computer may not be possible at our age. But at the younger age, it's possible. And at younger age, to pick up the things is much easier. So my humble request to the seniors is, please take the juniors into your fold. You cannot do away with them now. There's no way that you can work without them, because they are going to be your real assets, because they are the people who will be conducting the audits in the times to come, because they will be acquainted with the entire audit techniques of future. So my humble request to all seniors is, please take the juniors into your fold. That's very, very important. They are the real assets of this profession. This younger generation is the key today, very frankly, so far as the auditing profession is concerned. Seniors will remain. Seniors can tell them by experience what is to be checked, but how it is to be checked, that will be done by the juniors. I think that particular thing we will not be able to ignore in the times to come. And I can also tell you that Reserve Bank of India has introduced certain changes this year. And one before that, I will only like to say, Sanjeev ji is here. ये जो ब्रांच ऑडिट होता था ना, जो जिस तरीके से होता था, वो उस तरीके से नहीं हो पाया. ये जो हम समझते थे यार ये एनुअल बोनस आ गया है कि एनुअल लॉटरी आ गई है, ये नहीं होगा. I think gone are the days. खत्म है. हमने तो, आप लोगों ने शायद, कुछ लोगों ने वो दिन नहीं देखे, हमने वो दिन देखे जब किसी के पास 3 ब्रांचेस आती थी और वो आके बोस्ट करता था, यार ब्रांच आई थी, एक सोनीपत की थी, एक अंबाला की थी, एक लुधियाना की, 2 दिन में तीनों ब्रांचेस खत्म करके आ गए. वो 2 दिन में, क्योंकि 3 ब्रांचेस खत्म हुई थी, इसलिए ये 80% हुआ है। और ये 60% या 70% भी एक कारण ये भी है उसका कि ये होगा। I think we should not be able to, we can't ignore these ground realities. मैं आपको ये बता सकता हूँ, हमने तो ब्लैंक लॉन्ग फॉर्म ऑडिट रिपोर्ट साइन की हुई देखी है लोगों की। एमओसीज कितने % ऑडिटर देते हैं मुझे कहने की आवश्यकता नहीं है, या जो देते हैं वो किस मेच्योरिटी लेवल के देते हैं वो भी मुझे कहने की आवश्यकता नहीं है। तो अगर हम जागरूक नहीं होंगे, अगर हम जागेंगे नहीं, if we don't wake up today to the ground realities, I think whatever is remaining, that may also not remain with us. That I am absolutely clear in my mind at least. मैं अपने ऑफिस में भी यही कहता हूँ, मैं बाहर भी यही कहता हूँ, मैं जब इलेक्शन लड़ रहा था तब भी यही कहता था, आपको ये बता सकता हूँ। क्योंकि मेरा अपना मानना ये है कि अगर हम क्वालिटी नहीं दे पाएंगे तो हमारे पास क्लाइंट ठहरेगा नहीं। अल्टीमेटली कम से कम हमें कहीं ना कहीं ये डेमोन्स्ट्रेट करना, अब हम जाके जब ये कम होने की बात होती है ना कि ब्रांचेस कम हो जाएंगी, मेरे ख्याल संजीव जी को पता है, जब 20 करोड़ का लिमिट बढ़ाई जा रही थी तो हम सब जाके गवर्नमेंट को ये कह रहे थे कि साहब फ्रॉड बहुत हो जाएंगे ब्रांचेस के अंदर, फ्रॉड बढ़ जाएंगे अगर ऑडिट नहीं करवाओगे आप ब्रांचेस का। आरबीआई के लोग ये पूछते हैं, मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ फाइनेंस के लोग ये पूछते हैं, भाई एबीजी शिपयार्ड जिसमें चल रहा था अकाउंट, उसका ऑडिट तो हो रहा था ना, जिसमें अकाउंट दीवान हाउसिंग का चल रहा था उसमें उसका भी तो ऑडिट हो ही रहा था। जितने ये मेजर फ्रॉड्स हुए इन सब में ये सब के सब ब्रांचेस का ऑडिट हो रहा था। एंड देयर वन क्वेश्चन इज, प्लीज टेल अस वन सिंपल केस जहां पे ब्रांच ऑडिटर ने फ्रॉड निकाल के दिया। और अगर आपने नहीं निकाला तो आपका ये आर्गुमेंट फेल हो जाता ना राइट इन द फर्स्ट इंस्टेंस। और हम उनको वेरी फ्रैंकली वी हैव नॉट बीन एबल टू गिव देम एनी केस जहां पे ब्रांच ऑडिटर ने ये कहा कि ये फ्रॉड हो रहा। ब्रांच ऑडिटर तो छोड़ो, कंकरेंट ऑडिटर भी नहीं बोलता कि ये फ्रॉड हो रहा। Then what is, how can we go and sell our services to somebody? I think that's very important. ये जो स्टेज हम पहुंचे हैं, जो भी स्टेज हम पहुंचे, अच्छी पहुंचे बुरी पहुंचे, ये सब अपने ही कारण पहुंचे हैं, ये मैं आपको बता सकता हूँ। तो हमें जागना होगा, सचेत होना होगा, और सचेत होके ये प्रूव करना होगा कि our services are valuable. Please avail our services. I think that's very, very important at the end of the day. इस बार रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया ने कुछ चेंजेस किए हैं। बिफोर आई गेट इनटू द नॉर्मल रूटीन ऑडिट पार्ट, देयर आर सर्टेन वेरी की चेंजेस व्हिच हैव बीन ब्रॉट इन बाय द रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया दिस ईयर। और वो सर्कुलर है, एक तो 12 नवंबर का सर्कुलर है और एक सर्कुलर है मेरा 15 फरवरी का। 12 नवंबर 2021 का सर्कुलर है और 15 फरवरी 2022 का सर्कुलर है। इनको पढ़े बिना मत जाइएगा किसी भी सूरत में बैंकिंग इंडस्ट्री में। ये दोनों सर्कुलर अपने आप में बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है। दीज आर वेरी सिग्निफिकेंट, वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। हम पिछले सालों में जब बैंक ऑडिट पे जाते थे, वी वर गोइंग फॉर द बैंक ऑडिट, वी यूज्ड टू कमेंट अपॉन इन द लॉन्ग फॉर्म ऑडिट रिपोर्ट दैट देयर आर मेनी documents which are lying blank, though signed by the parties, signed by the bankers, but those documents are blank. And at number of places we used to have lot of arguments with the bankers for various matters, as I will discuss with you. Now the Reserve Bank of India has very clearly said कि आपके किसी भी सैंक्शन, जब आप कोई लोन सैंक्शन करेंगे और उसके फॉर्म भरवाएंगे, तो उसमें चाहे वो रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट का कॉलम हो, चाहे वो मॉरेटोरियम का कॉलम हो, चाहे वो फ्रीक्वेंसी ऑफ पेमेंट का कॉलम हो, चाहे वो किसी और चीज का कॉलम हो, सब के सब कॉलम फिल्ड अप होने चाहिए फॉर्म्स के अंदर। जो नए लोन है विच हैव बीन सैंक्शन पोस्ट 1 अप्रैल 2021, वो सब के सब आपके जो डॉक्यूमेंट्स हैं वो फिलअप होने चाहिए बिफोर 31 दिसंबर। 21। और जो पुराने वाले हैं लोन्स, जो आपने पुराने लोन सैंक्शन किए हुए हैं, वो जैसे जैसे रिन्यूअल के लिए आएंगे आपके, वैसे वैसे उनके सब कॉलम्स भरने चाहिए। उसका कारण क्या है? उसका कारण ये है कि जब हम जाते थे तो हम ये कहते थे भाई तुम्हारा ये रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट फॉर्म में भरा ही नहीं हुआ, सैंक्शन लेटर में फॉर्म उसमें भरा नहीं हुआ, उनकी टर्म्स एंड कंडीशन। और कई केसेस में ये हुआ कि जब बैंक के सूट फाइल हुए तो बैंक ने बाद में कोई रेट भरा, जो पार्टी के पास चिट्ठी थी उसमें कोई चिट्ठी और थी। तो बैंक हैव लॉस्ट सम ऑफ द केसेस बिकॉज ऑफ दीज ब्लैंक फॉर्म्स। और दूसरा ये कि ऑडिट में डिफिकल्टी होती थी कि आपको ये पता ही नहीं कि रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट क्या होगा, सिक्योरिटी क्या होगी, रीपेमेंट टर्म्स क्या है, आपकी पहली रीपेमेंट कब आनी है। तो द रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया हैज नो वेरी वेरी क्लियरली लेड डाउन कि भाई आप किसी भी सूरत में किसी फॉर्म को ब्लैंक नहीं छोड़ सकते, सारे के सारे कॉलम आपको भरने ही पड़ेंगे। और दूसरी बात उन्होंने ये कही कि जहां पे भी आपने कोई मॉरेटोरियम पीरियड दिया है, किसी को चाहे इंटरेस्ट का दिया है या प्रिंसिपल का दिया है, तो पहली बात तो ये कि भाई आपने मॉरेटोरियम पीरियड तो आपने लिख दिया 3 साल का मॉरेटोरियम पीरियड है, वो कहता है ये 3 साल या 2 साल या 1 साल लिखने से गुजारा नहीं होगा। आप ये लिखिए कि इंटरेस्ट की या प्रिंसिपल की ईएमआई की रीपेमेंट शुरू कब होगी, किस डेट से शुरू होगी। वो कहता पूरे का पूरा रीपेमेंट शेड्यूल दीजिए कि किस किस डेट को आपकी पेमेंट्स ड्यू होंगी। आई थिंक दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, विच वाज नॉट देयर अर्लियर। हालांकि करना चाहिए था बैंक्स को, बैंक्स करते नहीं थे, but now the Reserve Bank of India has very clearly laid down you cannot do away without that. Under all circumstances you have to fill up all the forms with regard to the frequency, due dates, etc., which will need to be fed in the system also for that matter. Now one of the things that they have said is that if you say that it is an EMI based, कि आपकी रीपेमेंट EMI की होगी, तो even the bifurcation between the interest and the principal has to be given. I think these are very crucial factors which have been brought on record by the Reserve Bank of India this time, and we cannot be seen to be lagging behind in reading these circulars under any circumstances. और अगर ये नहीं भरे गए हैं तो जो आपको लिख के आना फिर रिपोर्ट में लिखेंगे, अगर नहीं लिखेंगे तो फिर जो रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया ने व्यू फॉर्म करना वो अपना व्यू फॉर्म करेगी फॉर दैट मैटर। एक उन्होंने कहा, उन्होंने 2 बातें कही इस बार, और एक तो स्पेशल मेंशन अकाउंट्स के बारे में की और एक थी एनपी अकाउंट्स के बारे में, नॉन परफॉर्मिंग अकाउंट्स के बारे में। What is a special mentioned account? Special mentioned account is a situation which arises when there is some irregularity in the account. NPA is a non-performing account in any case. Special mentioned account में SMA 0, SMA 1, SMA 2. This is abbreviated form of special mentioned account. SMA 0 क्या है? जहां पे irregularity 1 दिन से लेके 30 दिन की है। SMA 1 क्या है? जहां पे irregularity 31 दिन से लेके 60 दिन की है। और SMA 2 क्या है? जहां पे irregularity 61 दिन से लेके 90 दिन तक की है। Earlier what the banks used to do was to take a run of the special mentioned account, maybe at the end of the month or at the end of the quarter, जब मर्जी आई ले लिया। अब उन्होंने कहा ये नहीं हो सकता भाई, you will have to take it daily. It is a part of the daily end process irrespective of the time that it will consume. ये लिखा उसके अंदर सर्कुलर में, irrespective of the time factor. कितना भी टाइम लगे आपको डे एंड प्रोसेस में स्पेशल मेंशन अकाउंट निकालने ही पड़ेंगे। SMA 0 कितना, SMA 1 कितना, SMA 2 कितना। इसका मतलब क्या हुआ? इसका मतलब ये हुआ कि आपको एनपीए आइडेंटिफिकेशन भी डेली बेसिस पे करनी पड़ेगी ना, क्योंकि जहां पे 90 दिन से ऊपर कोई टपा नहीं स्पेशल मेंशन अकाउंट, वो एनपीए हो गया। और जहां पे वो एनपीए हुआ वो क्या होगा, देन द एनपीए। इसका मतलब एनपीए की भी जो डे एंड प्रोसेस है, उन्होंने एनपीए पे भी यही बोला कि अब एनपीए आप मंथ एंड पे नहीं निकालोगे, आप एनपीए क्वार्टर एंड पे नहीं निकालोगे, यू विल हैव टू टेक आउट द एनपीए ऑन ए डेली बेसिस, इट हैज टू बी बेस्ड ऑन ए डेली एंड प्रोसेस। और फिर उन्होंने यही बात कही, टाइम की बात नहीं है, आप ये नहीं कह सकते कि जी इसमें तो टाइम बहुत लगेगा, बैंक वाले कहेंगे जी इसमें तो टाइम बहुत लग जाएगा अगर डे एंड प्रोसेस करेंगे। उन्होंने कहा ये प्रोसेस तो आपको डेली करनी ही पड़ेगी, स्पेशल मेंशन अकाउंट्स की और एनपीए की जो भी आइडेंटिफिकेशन है आप डेली बेसिस पे करेंगे। और जो आइडेंटिफिकेशन ऑफ एनपीए है, जहां पे उसके 90 दिन से ऊपर हुए उसी दिन को वो अकाउंट एनपीए हुआ, और दैट विल बिकम द डेट ऑफ द अकाउंट बिकमिंग एनपीए, नॉट द मंथ एंड डेट, नॉट द क्वार्टर एंडिंग डेट। जैसे आपको याद हो पहले टर्म लोन के केस में क्या होता था कि टर्म लोन का हमने इंटरेस्ट अप्लाई किया, उसके मंथ एंड के बाद हम कैलकुलेट करते थे 90 दिन। उन्होंने कहा ये नहीं चल सकता भाई, इट विल नॉट गो। What you have to calculate is the 90 days from the day on which it had become due, and the due date is the day on which the interest has been applied, not the second day. ये एक और बड़ी भारी उन्होंने बात कही है इस बार के सर्कुलर में। उन्होंने कहा जिस दिन ड्यू है और अगर उस दिन नहीं आया, then it becomes overdue that particular day, and that will be counted as an overdue day. So this is again a very, very significant thing to happen. So what you are going to do, what are our duties to perform in these respects? Our duties are very, very clear, that we will go to the bank, find out the system, whether system is generating special mentioned accounts on a daily basis, NP on a daily basis, this term loan wala jo hai, this thing is being done on a daily basis, how it is being done. And if it is not doing that way, इसका डिस्क्लेमर अपनी मेन रिपोर्ट में डाल के आइएगा, बिकॉज देन यू विल नॉट बी एबल टू आइडेंटिफाई, बिकॉज देन द प्रूडेंशियल नॉर्म्स हैव नॉट बीन कंप्लाइड विद, then you will have to qualify your report that prudential norms have not been complied with, because prudential norms now require that it has to be done, the identification of NPA has to be done on a daily basis and not on a month end basis, not on a quarter end basis, और वो नहीं चल सकता किसी भी सूरत में। Cash credits to me, and I think this is going to make the life of all the auditors, whether central auditors or the branch auditors, very difficult. Cash credit account में उन्होंने ये कहा, पहले एक वर्ड था, सेंटेंस था, as at the balance sheet date, that the debit of the interest and the credits, if the debit of the interest exceeds the credit in the account, or the irregularity, or the account has been out of order, and out of order की definition बड़ी clear थी कि आप यहाँ तो sanction limit से 90 दिन ज्यादा overdrawn है, या आप DP से ज्यादा overdrawn है for a period of 90 days, या आपके जो credits है in the account those are insufficient, यहाँ तो बिल्कुल credit है ही नहीं, और there are credits which are insufficient to meet the debit of the interest. अब उन्होंने वो बैलेंस शीट डेट का वर्ड हटा दिया वहां से, वो सेंटेंस उन्होंने गायब कर दिया वहां, उन्होंने बैलेंस शीट डेट नहीं, कभी भी किसी पीरियड में भी if you reach a situation that the debit of interest is more than the credits in the account for a period of 90 days or more, that account will have to be identified as an NPA by the system. आपको ये जान के अच्छा भी लगेगा, ये बता सकता हूँ कि RBI has made it very, very clear to the banks. Effective 30th June 21, no bank under any circumstances can have NPA identification based upon manual basis. It cannot be on manual basis. It has to be system identified basis that the NPA identification has to be done. और अगर किसी बैंक ने NPA आइडेंटिफिकेशन को सिस्टम बेस्ड नहीं कर रखा है और आपके NPA आइडेंटिफाई हो रहे हैं मैनुअल बेसिस के ऊपर, तो वो ये कहता है अंडर ऑल सर्कमस्टांसेस Under all circumstances, this account, then the bank will be levied huge penalties by the Reserve Bank of India. और आपको अगर कोई ऐसा मिलता है, if you come across any of these situations where the bank has actually tried to identify the NPAs on manual basis and not on the not through the system basis, please qualify your reports. And I will rather go on a step further. You can even write to the Reserve Bank of India, because this is non-compliance with the direction of the Reserve Bank of India. The RBI has been absolutely clear that effective 30th June 2021, that was the last date on which the system had to be implemented by the banks. If they don't implement it in that particular case, the bank will be levied huge penalties. अब आप उसको किस फॉर्म में लेके जाते हैं, I leave it to you, but you will have to actually look at that particular system. So what I am trying to say is कि आपको सिस्टम में ये देखना पड़ेगा कि क्या सिस्टम आइडेंटिफाई कर पा रहा है कि जो डेबिट है इंटरेस्ट का बैलेंस शीट डेट को नहीं, ऑन ए रनिंग बेसिस, whether that is able to match it with the credits which are coming to the account. बड़ा मुश्किल काम है, very difficult work, but this is what the circular of 12th November says, and you can't avoid that particular circular in any case, so far as that particular part is concerned, क्योंकि अब वो बैलेंस शीट डेट की बात नहीं करता है. That is talking of on a regular basis under all circumstances. तो मेरी आपसे यही विनती है कि आप उसको जरा देख लेंगे. एक उन्होंने बात और कही, जो एनपीए की आइडेंटिफिकेशन अपग्रेडेशन है अकाउंट्स की, वो ये कहता है उसमें कि मैं आपको लैंग्वेज ही पढ़ के बता देता हूँ सर्कुलर की. It has been observed that some lending institutions upgrade accounts classified as NPAs to standard asset category upon payment of only interest overdues, partial overdues, etc. In order to avoid any ambiguity in this regard, it is clarified that loan accounts classified as NPAs may be upgraded as standard asset only if entire areas of interest and principal are paid by the borrower. With regard to upgradation of accounts classified as NPA due to restructuring, non-achievement of date of commencement of commercial operations, the instruction as specified for such cases shall continue to be applicable. ये कहता है कि सपोज कीजिए आपकी एक अकाउंट एनपीए था, मैं आपको I will say sir, X is the borrower. X account was and X was enjoying three facilities, maybe cash credit facility, term loan facility, and bill discounting facility. Because of the fact that the term loan interest had become overdue for a period of 90 days, you classified cash credit also as NPA, and you classified bill discounting also as NPA. And all the account was, because one facility NPA, all facilities NPA for that matter. Okay, तो suppose कीजिए उसने टर्म लोन की जो इरेगुलरिटी थी वो दूर कर दी, चाहे वो इंटरेस्ट की थी या प्रिंसिपल की थी. बट बाय दैट टाइम बिल डिस्काउंटिंग फैसिलिटी had become overdue by a period of 30 days or 40 days or 60 days or 70 days or 80 days, but below 90 days. Can this account be upgraded? The answer is no. In such a case, before it is to be upgraded, any kind of overdue in all the facilities of a particular borrower will have to be cleared before that particular account can be upgraded to a standard account. ये evergreening चलती थी, and we have been part of it very frankly in the sense कि हमने शायद इस पे ऑब्जेक्शन नहीं किया. हम ये समझते थे भाई जिस अकाउंट की वजह से एनपीए हुआ था वो अकाउंट उसने रेगुलराइज कर दिया, देन ऑल द थिंग्स आर फाइन. पर अब उन्होंने बिल्कुल क्लियर कर दिया है कि ये नहीं चलेगा, दिस विल नॉट वर्क. आप अंडर ऑल सर्कमस्टांसेस व्हाट यू विल हैव टू लुक एट इज कि जो भी आपका, अगर एक अकाउंट में 3 फैसिलिटीज हैं जिसकी वजह से एनपीए हुआ था, उसकी तो इरेगुलरिटी दूर होनी चाहिए ही चाहिए. जो बाकी फैसिलिटीज हैं अगर उसमें भी किसी तरीके की कोई इरेगुलरिटी थी तो वो इरेगुलरिटी भी क्लियर होनी चाहिए बिफोर यू कैन अपग्रेड दैट पर्टिकुलर अकाउंट इन दोज केसेस. Another thing that they have gone on to say is income recognition policy for loans with moratorium on payment of interest. हम सबको मालूम है कि जब हम किसी अकाउंट को एमपीए करते हैं तो हम उसमें सबसे पहले क्या करते हैं कि जो उनका इंटरेस्ट अप्लाइड होता है उस पर्टिकुलर पीरियड का उसको हम रिवर्स कर देते हैं. जो अनरियलाइज्ड अमाउंट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट होता, जो आ गया इंटरेस्ट उसको तो रिवर्स करने का मतलब नहीं है, पर जो अनरियलाइज्ड अमाउंट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट है दैट इंटरेस्ट इज ऑलवेज रिवर्स्ड द मोमेंट द अकाउंट इज क्लासिफाइड एज एनपीए. इसमें उन्होंने एक रिलीफ दिया इंडस्ट्री को एंड आई थिंक वेरी जस्टिफाइड. इट इज टू माय माइंड वन ऑफ द बेस्ट थिंग दैट रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया कुड हैव डन. आरबीआई ने ये बोला कि अगर आपने किसी व्यक्ति को किसी प्रोजेक्ट में या किसी भी वजह से कोई मॉरेटोरियम दिया, आपने ये कहा कि भाई आपको इंटरेस्ट का मॉरेटोरियम या प्रिंसिपल का मॉरेटोरियम हम दे रहे हैं, इंटरेस्ट और उसका दोनों का मॉरेटोरियम आपने दे दिया उसको, प्रिंसिपल का या सिर्फ इंटरेस्ट का मॉरेटोरियम दे दिया, प्रिंसिपल की रीपेमेंट तो जनरली लेट ही शुरू होती है. हमने ये कहा कि 2 साल तक या 1 साल तक या 3 साल तक हम आपसे इंटरेस्ट नहीं लेंगे, बट द बैंक कैन कंटिन्यू टू अक्रू द इंटरेस्ट ड्यूरिंग द मॉरेटोरियम पीरियड आल्सो. नो, व्हाट इज द सिग्निफिकेंस ऑफ दिस? वो ये कहता है कि अगर आपने किसी को मॉरेटोरियम दिया हुआ है 1 साल का, 2 साल का, 3 साल का, जिस डेट तक का भी दिया हुआ, उस डेट तक आप अपना इंटरेस्ट अक्रू करते रहेंगे. सपोज कीजिए बियॉन्ड द मॉरेटोरियम पीरियड खत्म हुआ, वो इंटरेस्ट नहीं दे पा रहा ऑन द शेड्यूल डेट्स. इस केस में उन्होंने ये कहा कि भाई जब आपने मॉरेटोरियम दिया था तो क्यों दिया था उसको मॉरेटोरियम? सोचो तो सही. इंटेंशन की बात कर रहा हूं सर्कुलर के, क्योंकि मेरा अपना मानना यह है कि जब भी आप इंटेंशन पे चले जाते हो ना किसी प्रोविजन के या सर्कुलर के, देन यू आर एबल टू अप्रिशिएट दैट पर्टिकुलर सर्कुलर मोर देन एनीथिंग एल्स. तो वो ये बोला उस पर्टिकुलर केस में कि अगर आपने उसको मॉरेटोरियम दिया था तो आपने मॉरेटोरियम यही सोच के दिया था कि भाई इसकी कैश जनरेटिंग कैपेसिटी नहीं है इस पर्टिकुलर पीरियड में, and that particular part of interest had been capitalized more or less as a part of the project cost. आप ये मान के चल रहे थे कि ये जो कॉस्ट है इसकी, ये जो इंटरेस्ट की पार्ट है, ये कैपिटलाइज्ड है यार, ये प्रोजेक्ट कॉस्ट का ही पार्ट है एक तरह से फॉर दैट पर्टिकुलर पीरियड. तो अगर ये आपने मॉरेटोरियम दिया उसको और आप ये मान के चले कि उसको कैश जनरेटिंग डिफिकल्टीज होगी और आपने अप्रूव कर दिया इंटरेस्ट, और जब आपके पास उस मॉरेटोरियम पीरियड खत्म हुआ और उसके बाद वो नहीं दे पाया, वो इंटरेस्ट या इंटरेस्ट जो आपने बाद में डेबिट किया या प्रिंसिपल वो नहीं रीपे कर पाया, तो वो कहते हैं उस पर्टिकुलर केस में वो इंटरेस्ट जो मॉरेटोरियम पीरियड का था और वो नहीं दे पाया, उसको आप रिवर्स नहीं करेंगे, उसका रिवर्सल नहीं होगा. जो पोस्ट मॉरेटोरियम पीरियड आपने डेबिट किया है और उसने नहीं दिया, उसको आप रिवर्स कर लीजिए, क्योंकि तब आपने ये माना था कि इसकी कैश जनरेटिंग कैपेसिटी हो जाएगी, यू विल बी एबल टू पे, और तब वो नहीं दे पा रहा तो आप डेफिनेटली उस पर्टिकुलर केस में उसको लेके आइए वापस, आप उसको रिवर्स करिए. परंतु जो इंटरेस्ट उसका मॉरेटोरियम पीरियड का है, आपने उसको अप्रूव करने का राइट दिया है, आपने उसको ना पे करने का राइट दिया और आप उसको अप्रूव करते रहे, उसको आप रिवर्स नहीं करें. आज तक हम ये इंटरेस्ट रिवर्स करवा रहे थे, इसमें बैंक्स को बड़ा रिलीफ है, इंडस्ट्री को रिलीफ है, आई थिंक, बट दिस इज वेरी लॉजिकल, और इसलिए हम इस पे किसी तरीके की कोई गुफ्तगू नहीं. अब तो प्रूडेंशियल नॉर्म्स में आ गया तो हमने कम से कम ऑब्जेक्ट नहीं करना. आपको सिर्फ ये इसीलिए ये देखना जरूरी है कि रीपेमेंट कब से शुरू होगी. वो जो कॉलम्स भरने की बात हुई है, वो जो कॉलम भरने की बात हुई, इसलिए ज्यादा सिग्निफिकेंट है कि मोरेटोरियम पीरियड कब तक था, और अगर था तो आपने उसको कब से उसकी रीपेमेंट शुरू करवानी है, और अगर वो रीपेमेंट नहीं हो रही तो मोरेटोरियम पीरियड का इंटरेस्ट आप रिवर्स नहीं करेंगे, बाद के पीरियड का इंटरेस्ट आप रिवर्स कर देंगे। कुछ चीजें छोटी छोटी और उन्होंने इस बार मॉडिफाई की, those also I will like to discuss with you. एक तो उन्होंने सबसे जरूरी बात जो इस बार की वो ये की कि भाई जब आप अकाउंट अपग्रेड करते हैं, जब जो अकाउंट रिस्ट्रक्चरिंग में जाता, रिस्ट्रक्चरिंग में उन्होंने एक नई टर्म लाके खड़ी कर दी है, मॉनिटरिंग पीरियड। कोई रेजोल्यूशन प्लान हुआ, रिस्ट्रक्चरिंग हुई किसी अकाउंट की, पहले वर्ड होता था स्पेसिफाइड पीरियड अपग्रेडेशन के लिए, अब उन्होंने एक वर्ड इस्तेमाल किया है मॉनिटरिंग पीरियड। मॉनिटरिंग पीरियड और स्पेसिफाइड पीरियड में क्या फर्क है, ये भी आपको देखना पड़ेगा। वो ये कह रहा है कि जो मेरा प्रिंसिपल आना चाहिए था ड्यूरिंग द मॉनिटरिंग पीरियड, पर मॉनिटरिंग पीरियड भी 1 साल से कम नहीं हो सकता, लेट्स बी वेरी क्लियर अबाउट इट, क्योंकि आप कोई भी अकाउंट अपग्रेड कर नहीं सकते 1 साल से पहले किसी भी सूरत में। 1 साल का तो मिनिमम पीरियड है सेटिस्फैक्टरी परफॉर्मेंस का। और इसमें वो ये कहता है कि जितना उसने प्रिंसिपल प्लस कैपिटलाइज्ड अमाउंट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट देना था, जो आपने रिस्ट्रक्चरिंग का पार्ट बनाया इंटरेस्ट को, आपने उसको कैपिटलाइज कर दिया, जो उसने देना था, अगर उसका जो 10% जिस पीरियड में आना है, कम से कम 10% जिस पीरियड में आना है, वो मॉनिटरिंग पीरियड है। और मॉनिटरिंग पीरियड में किसी तरीके का और कोई डिफॉल्ट नहीं होना चाहिए। अगर मॉनिटरिंग पीरियड में डिफॉल्ट हो गया, देन इट विल रिक्वायर ए रीस्ट्रक्चरिंग। और सीधी सी बात यह है, वो ये कहता है कि आप मॉनिटरिंग पीरियड में भी अगर आप डिफॉल्ट करते हैं तो आप उसको फर्दर रीस्ट्रक्चर कर सकते हैं अकाउंट को, परंतु उसमें कम से कम 15% का प्रोविजन आपको एडिशनल करना पड़ेगा। 15% का प्रोविजन एडिशनल होगा उस पर्टिकुलर केस में जहां पे मॉनिटरिंग पीरियड में डिफॉल्ट हुआ और आपने उसको रीस्ट्रक्चर कर दिया। और स्पेसिफाइड पीरियड तो सीधी सी बात है, स्पेसिफाइड पीरियड की वो बात करता है जहां पे 20% ऑफ द प्रिंसिपल एंड द कैपिटलाइज्ड अमाउंट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट आपको आना है। अगर वो आ जाता है और उसमें किसी तरीके का कोई डिफॉल्ट नहीं होता है, और उसमें भी उसने ये कहा 20 कौन सा पीरियड, जिसकी अगर आपकी 4 फैसिलिटीज हैं, एक में आपने मॉरेटोरियम दिया हुआ है 1 साल का, दूसरे में 2 साल का, तीसरे में 3 साल का, तो 3 साल से पहले आप अपग्रेड नहीं कर सकते, क्योंकि सेटिस्फैक्टरी परफॉर्मेंस जो है, जब आपका वो लॉन्गेस्ट मॉरेटोरियम पीरियड वाला खत्म होगा, उसके बाद ही आप असेस कर पाओगे कि स्पेसिफाइड पीरियड में इसकी परफॉर्मेंस ठीक है या नहीं। तो आई थिंक दीज आर वेरी क्रूशियल क्वेश्चंस which have come in through the circulars of the Reserve Bank of India this year, and I personally feel that we have to be extremely careful. और इसमें हम सबको सबसे पहले तो सिस्टम्स को रिव्यू करने की बात है ब्रांच के। अगर ब्रांच में ये इंफॉर्मेशन निकल ही नहीं पाएगी क्योंकि वो सिस्टम बेस्ड नहीं है, then there is a problem है फ्रेंड्स। तो मेरी आपसे ये विनती है कि जब जिस ब्रांच में भी आप जाएं, तो ये जो डेली एंड प्रोसेस की बात मैंने एसएम में अकाउंट्स की है या एनपीएस की है, उसको जाके देख लीजिए कि ये कर रहे हैं या नहीं कर रहे हैं। अगर नहीं कर रहे हैं तो वट एवर यू वांट टू डू यू प्लीज डू इट। इसके बाद जो मैं आपसे बात कर रहा हूँ वो और ज्यादा जरूरी है। ये तो थी अभी तक की जो चेंजेस आई हैं इस साल में, पर ये चेंजेस जरूरी है समझनी और इनको इम्प्लीमेंट करना। अब मेरी बात उन लोगों से है जो शायद पहली बार करने जाएंगे या जो हमेशा यही कहते रहते हैं कि यार बैंक ब्रांच ऑडिट करें कैसे, 3 दिन तो बैंक देता नहीं, 4 दिन बैंक देता नहीं, 5 दिन बैंक देता नहीं। तो भाई मैं सबको एक बात तो कहना चाहता हूँ, मनीष जी के माध्यम से कहना चाहता हूँ, कृष्ण कुमार जी के माध्यम से कहना चाहता हूँ कि एक बात बताइए कि कौन से लोग हैं जो आपको टाइम देते हैं? प्राइवेट क्लाइंट टाइम देता है क्या आपको ऑडिट करने का? टाइम तो आपको कोई नहीं देता। यहाँ तो फीस भी देते हैं, 3 से 5 दिन भी देते होंगे, बट मीडियम साइज ब्रांचेस में 7 से 8 दिन भी देते होंगे, बड़ी ब्रांच में 10 से 12 दिन भी देते होंगे। वो जो एक टैक्स ऑडिट वाला आता है ना, बड़े से बड़ा क्लाइंट, वो भी कई बार शाम को 5 बजे आता है 30 सितंबर को, उसका टैक्स ऑडिट रुकता है क्या? पुट ए हैंड ऑन हार्ट एंड आंसर दिस क्वेश्चन। मेरे ख्याल तो किसी का रुका नहीं टैक्स ऑडिट। व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू टेल यू इज कि ब्रांच मैनेजर की तो ड्यूटी है कि वो ये समझे कि भाई आपको जल्दी से जल्दी मुझे बाहर भेजना, पर ब्रांच ऑडिट करना कैसे है, कितना टाइम लेना है, वो तो मेरी ऑब्लिगेशन है और मेरा राइट है। परंतु अगर मैं ही जल्दी में हूं फिर क्या होगा? और मोस्ट ऑफ द केसेस में तो मैं ही जल्दी में होता हूं, ये भी फैक्ट है। आई एम ऑलवेज इन हरी रादर देन बैंक मैनेजर। ये हम कहते रहते हैं यार, ब्रांच मैनेजर एमओसी नहीं देने देता, जनरल मैनेजर एमओसी नहीं देने देता, डीजीएम एमओसी नहीं देने देता, तो प्राइवेट वाला क्या टैक्स ऑडिट में क्वालिफाई करने देता क्या रिपोर्ट को इतनी आसानी से? ये आर्गुमेंट नहीं चल सकता, ये आर्गुमेंट चल ही नहीं सकता। एमओसी नॉन इशू ऑफ एमओसी का रीजन ये है कि ब्रांच मैनेजर नहीं देने देता, या डीजीएम नहीं देने देता, या जीएम नहीं देने देता। ये तो नहीं, फिर तो सरकार भी ये कहेगी कि आपको प्राइवेट क्लाइंट क्या क्वालिफाई करने देता है इसका मतलब रिपोर्ट को, और आप उसके प्रेशर में आ जाते हैं। तो भाई ये आर्गुमेंट लेना बंद करें। एमओसी मेरी ताकत, कलम मेरी है, और मेरी चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स के पास कोई मसल्स थोड़ी ना है। हमारे तो कलम है, पतली हो मोटी हो जैसी भी हो, उसी में ताकत है, बाकी तो कोई ताकत ही नहीं है। ऑडिट के लिए कोई हट्टा कट्टा होना जरूरी नहीं है, किसी आदमी को अपने दिमाग की मजबूती और कलम की मजबूती होना जरूरी है। तो वो कितनी मजबूत मैं कलम रखता हूँ, कितनी मजबूत अपनी सोच रखता हूँ, वो बहुत जरूरी है, और वो कभी भी ऑडिटर के लिए जरूरी है, ये मैं आपको बता सकता हूँ। और मेरा अपना एक्सपीरियंस ये कहता है कि अगर आप क्लाइंट को ये बताते हो कि इसके क्या, उसको भी क्या फायदे हो सकते हैं, तो वो भी तो फंसता है, मैं ही थोड़ी ना अकेला फंसता हूँ। तो कहीं ना कहीं पे आप सिचुएशन को इम्प्रूव कर पाते हो। बाकी तो अगर क्लाइंट में जाना है तो वो जाएगा, मैं इस बात पे अभी चर्चा नहीं करना चाह रहा हूँ। एनीवे, मेरा ये मानना है कि अगर क्लाइंट जो ब्रांच ऑडिट में, हम ब्रांच ऑडिट की क्वालिटी क्यों नहीं दे पा रहे? क्योंकि हम ब्रांच ऑडिट समझते नहीं। मोस्ट ऑफ अस डोंट अंडरस्टैंड द ब्रांच ऑडिट। ब्रांच ऑडिट लेजर से नहीं हो सकता। मुश्किल ये है कि जब मैं अपने बच्चे को भेजता हूँ ब्रांच ऑडिट में, उसको ये तो बताता नहीं लेटर ऑफ क्रेडिट क्या, उसको ये बताता नहीं कि गारंटी क्या है, उसको ये बताता नहीं इन्वोकेशन क्या होती है, उसको ये नहीं बताता डिवॉल्वमेंट क्या होती है, उसको ये नहीं पता होता कैश क्रेडिट क्या होता है। वो तो बेचारा घबरा जाता, कैश भी है क्रेडिट भी है, ये कहाँ फंस गया यार मैं। उसको ये नहीं पता होता प्लेज और हाइपोथिकेशन में क्या फर्क है, उसको ये नहीं पता होता रजिस्टर्ड मॉर्गेज और इक्विटेबल मॉर्गेज में क्या फर्क। तो भाई बच्चे को ऑडिट पे भेजने से पहले, स्टाफ को ऑडिट पे भेजने से पहले ये बताएं तो सही कि बैंक का ऑडिट है क्या, बैंक में टर्मिनोलॉजी क्या यूज होती है। अगर उसने जाके यही पूछ लिया ना कि ट्रायल बैलेंस कहाँ पे है, तो बैंक मैनेजर समझ जाता है कि इसने कभी बैंक का ऑडिट नहीं किया। बात वही है, डेबिट क्रेडिट वही होना, परंतु ट्रायल बैलेंस है या जीएलपी स्लिप है। आई थिंक दीज आर टू डिफरेंट थिंग्स, वर्डिंग डिफरेंट। तो ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है अपने आप में कि आप बच्चे को ये फीलिंग दे पाए कि तुम ब्रांच ऑडिट करने जा रहे हो, लेजर में मत घुस जाना चाहते, क्योंकि बैंकिंग सिस्टम एक ऐसा सिस्टम है, बैंक ऑडिट एक ऐसा ऑडिट है जो लेजर के थ्रू नहीं, रिटर्न्स के थ्रू होता है प्राइमरली। कौन सी ऐसी चीज है बैंक के अंदर जिसकी रिटर्न नहीं जाती ब्रांच से जाती है कंट्रोलिंग ऑफिस को, कंट्रोलिंग ऑफिस से जाती है हेड ऑफिस, कंसोलिडेट हो। आपके इरेगुलर एडवांसेस हैं उसकी भी रिटर्न जाती है, आपके एनपी है उसकी भी रिटर्न जाती है, फ्रॉड होता है उसकी भी रिटर्न जाती है, डिवॉल्व एलसी होती है उसकी भी रिटर्न जाती है, गारंटी इनवोक होती है उसकी भी रिटर्न जाती है, कैश का टोकन लॉस होता है उसकी भी रिटर्न जाती है, इनऑपरेटिव अकाउंट्स की भी रिटर्न जाती है। अगर कोई ऐसी चीज नहीं जिसकी रिटर्न नहीं जाती, तो भाई मुझे पहले तो यही समझना चाहिए कि रिटर्न्स कौन कौन सी जनरेट होती है। मैं एक बात जानना चाहता हूं, जब मैंने स्पेशल मेंशन अकाउंट्स की बात की, जो अकाउंट SMA 2 नहीं है 31 दिसंबर को, उसका तो एनपी होने का चांस ही बहुत कम है, अनलेस देयर इज अ फ्रॉड लेटर ऑन इन दैट अकाउंट, क्योंकि 90 दिन पूरे ही नहीं होंगे किसी भी सूरत में। जो SMA 2 वाले अकाउंट दिसंबर के हैं उनका जांचना बहुत जरूरी है, और SMA 2 के रिटर्न है मेरे पास। जो SMA 2 में से जो दिसंबर के SMA 2 थे, जो जिनको उन्होंने एनपीए खुद कर दिया 31 मार्च में, उसमें तो मुझे यही देखना ना कि सिक्योरिटी क्या है, डेट ऑफ एनपीए क्या है, इसका इंटरेस्ट मेरा रिवर्स हो गया या नहीं हो गया, सिक्योर्ड और अनसिक्योर्ड पोर्शन में प्रॉपर बाइफर्केशन हो गया या नहीं हो गया, बात भी उसमें क्या देखना। क्योंकि वो एनपीए जो एनपीए हो गया उसकी मुझे देखना यह कि इर्रेगुलर एडवांसेस जो थे SMA 2 में जो थे दिसंबर के अंदर, उसमें से कितने एनपीए और जितने एनपीए नहीं हुए, वो मास्टर सर्कुलर ये कहता है जो अकाउंट्स नियर द बैलेंस शीट डेट रेगुलराइज हुए हैं, जिनको एनपीए नहीं किया गया क्योंकि नियर द बैलेंस शीट डेट उसमें पेमेंट आई है, उनको गौर से देख लीजिए। आपके 15 अकाउंट थे SMA 2 में, 5 एनपीए हो गए, तो 10 अकाउंट्स को चेक करना बहुत जरूरी है मेरे लिए कि भाई ये एनपीए क्यों नहीं हुआ। अगर किसी की पेमेंट जनवरी में आ गई, फरवरी में आ गई, तो इट इज नॉट वेरी नियर टू द बैलेंस शीट डेट, परंतु जिसकी पेमेंट आई 28 मार्च को, 27 मार्च को, 20 मार्च को, उसके वाउचर जरूर निकलवा के देख लीजिएगा कि ये पेमेंट आई कहाँ से है, क्या किसी और अकाउंट से इसी ब्रांच से रूट होके आ गई, या मैंने टर्म लोन था उसको कैश क्रेडिट में से ट्रांसफर करके रेगुलराइज कर दिया, जबकि कैश क्रेडिट में ना तो डीपी थी ना और सैंक्शन लिमिट एक्सीड कर दिया। मैं नहीं कर सकता, अगर किया तो अकाउंट को एनपीए कर दीजिएगा। या ये सर्कमस्टांसेस हैं मेरे कि मैंने कोई बिल डिस्काउंटिंग की फ्रेश फैसिलिटी दे दी और वो बिल डिस्काउंट करके उसका पैसा डाल दिया, तो वो कहता अपने बैंक अपने पैसे से रेगुलराइज नहीं कर सकता भाई अकाउंट को, पार्टी अपने पैसे से रेगुलराइज करेगी ऑफ द जेन्युइन सोर्सेज ऑफ द पार्टी। तो व्हाट इज मोर इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर यू टू अंडरस्टैंड इज कि ये जो सब चीजें हैं ये रिटर्न्स के थ्रू चलेंगी। मैं सीधी सी बात जानता हूं, आपके बिल्स जो हैं वो आउटस्टैंडिंग है, आपके पास जो उसने एनुअल स्टेटमेंट दी एडवांसेस की 31 मार्च की, उसमें आपने देखा बिल्स आउटस्टैंडिंग है। दो तरीके के बिल्स आउटस्टैंडिंग हो सकते हैं, एक साइड बिल्स है, एक यूजेंस बिल्स है। यूजेंस बिल्स वो हैं जिसमें कि पार्टी को डॉक्यूमेंट आपने दे दिए, आपने बिल्स भेजे डिस्काउंट करके दूसरी ब्रांच को, दूसरे बैंक को, उसने पार्टी को हुंडी आना साइन करवा के उसको डॉक्यूमेंट दे दिए, पार्टी पढ़वा के ले गई, ऑन द ड्यू डेट उसने वो पेमेंट नहीं की। और साइड बिल क्या है? साइड बिल तो वो है जिसके डॉक्यूमेंट पार्टी को दिए नहीं जा सकते बैंक द्वारा जब तक वो पेमेंट नहीं करेगा। और आपने माल भेजा बॉम्बे से पुणे, आपने माल भेजा बॉम्बे से अहमदाबाद, और बिल आउटस्टैंडिंग है साइट का 1 महीने से, 1.5 महीने से, 2 महीने से, तो ये समझ लो कि वो माल या तो गया नहीं है, बिल झूठा डिस्काउंट हुआ है, या पार्टी माल छुड़वा के ले गई है, पेमेंट नहीं की, तो वो फ्रॉड है। I can tell you, in one of the cases, I'm talking of Rajasthan, and I'm talking of 96. There used to be in Bhilwara one of the parties. हम किसी ब्रांच में गए, किसी बैंक के नाम तो मैं नहीं लूंगा किसी का भी, और हमने देखा कि यहाँ पे बहुत सारे साइड बिल आउटस्टैंडिंग है। तो हमने बैंक मैनेजर को बोला कि भाई ये साइड बिल आउटस्टैंडिंग, ये तो मेरी सोने जैसी पार्टी है सर। मैंने कहा बिल्कुल सोने जैसी नहीं, डायमंड जैसी होगी, प्लेटिनम जैसी होगी, हमें तो ये बता दीजिए साइड बिल आउटस्टैंडिंग क्यों? 2-2 महीने से आउटस्टैंडिंग है। व्हाई दी साइड बिल्स आर आउटस्टैंडिंग? साइड बिल इसका तो बोला नहीं सर ये तो आउटस्टैंडिंग होंगे क्योंकि पार्टी ने माल छुड़वाया नहीं। हमने कहा नहीं, हमें ये नहीं पूछना। आप पार्टी, उसने पार्टी को बुलवाया, पार्टी से जब ज्यादा क्वेश्चन पूछने शुरू किए तो पार्टी बोली सर मैनेजर साहब को पता तो है कि माल तो हम छुड़वा के ले ही जाते हैं दूसरे बैंक से डॉक्यूमेंट लेकर, पर हमने कभी आज तक पेमेंट रोकी थोड़ी ना। फिर जब आती है पेमेंट हम इनको दे जाते हैं साइट बिल के अंदर, जबकि डॉक्यूमेंट बैंक के पास होना चाहिए। वो तो सिक्योर्ड है ना कि डॉक्यूमेंट ही मेरे पास है, मैंने पार्टी को डॉक्यूमेंट देना नहीं जब तक वो पेमेंट करेगी नहीं। और साइट बिल के अंदर मैं डॉक्यूमेंट पार्टी को दे दूं और वो अपनी मर्जी से जब पेमेंट करेगी तो कर देगी। ये फ्रॉड है ऑन द बैंकिंग सिस्टम। ये सिर्फ आपको एक एग्जांपल दे रहा हूँ कि जब कभी भी आप साइट बिल्स में आउटस्टैंडिंग देखें लंबी, भाई यहां से माल पुणे गया 5 दिन 7 दिन 8 दिन, ठीक है, पेंडिंग रहा, ठीक, उससे ज्यादा कोई पार्टी ने माल इसलिए थोड़ी ना खरीदा कि डेमरेज पे करना उसके ऊपर। ये कुछ चीजें हैं जिन पे आपको गौर खुद करना पड़ेगा। और सबसे ज्यादा मुश्किल जो अकाउंट चेक करना है बैंक ऑडिट के अंदर, टर्म लोन नहीं है। टर्म लोन में क्या चेक करना आपने? टर्म लोन में तो देखना कि भाई कोटेशंस थी नहीं थी पार्टी की, जो जब प्रपोजल आया था उस टर्म लोन में इन्होंने कहा था कि इससे क्या जनरेशन होगी, क्या जनरेशन होगी, हो रही नहीं हो रही, और मशीन के बिल्स आपके पास आए हुए हैं नहीं आए हुए हैं, अगर मकान बनाना था या फैक्ट्री बनानी थी उसके बिल्स प्रॉपर हैं या नहीं है, वो बिल्स लगे होने चाहिए। परंतु और टर्म लोन में अगर कभी इंटरेस्ट डेबिट हुआ या प्रिंसिपल रीपे होना, मैक्सिमम अगर बैंक मैनेजर हेराफेरी करके, कहीं पे हेराफेरी भी नहीं कहूंगा, कहीं पे अगर कैमोफ्लेजिंग करके, विंडो ड्रेसिंग करके उसकी एनपीए होने से रोकेगा तो 1 क्वार्टर रोक सकता है, इससे ज्यादा नहीं रोक सकता। परंतु कैश क्रेडिट में तो एनपीए वो होने ही नहीं देता अकाउंट। सबसे मुश्किल अगर कोई अकाउंट है, सबसे मुश्किल चेक करना वो है कैश क्रेडिट अकाउंट। कैश क्रेडिट में बैंक के पास कोई कंट्रोल ही नहीं है, कोई कंट्रोल नहीं है बैंक के पास। और कैश क्रेडिट में मजेदारी ये है, जब वो पहली बार आपके पास आता है सैंक्शन करवाने तो कहता है जी मेरा ऑपरेटिंग साइकिल 3 महीने का। फिर जब रिव्यू पे आता है उसके डेटर्स या स्टॉक लेवल इतने बढ़ गए होते हैं, उसका ऑपरेटिंग साइकिल 6 महीने का हो चुका होता है। तीसरी बार जब आता है तो 9 महीने का हो जाता है ऑपरेटिंग साइकिल। जिस केस में ऑपरेटिंग साइकिल बढ़ रहा है, ये मान लीजिए कि वो अकाउंट एनपीए हो चुका है, ये मान के चलिएगा कि वो अकाउंट एनपीए। अनफॉर्चुनेटली हम इस पर गौर नहीं करते। मैं आपको एक एग्जांपल दे रहा हूं। 33 करोड़ की टर्नओवर है, मैन्युफैक्चरिंग कंपनी, रॉ मटेरियल 3 लाख के, वर्क इन प्रोग्रेस 0, फिनिश गुड्स का एक पर्टिकुलर अमाउंट है। एक बात बताइए, मैन्युफैक्चरिंग कंपनी में वर्क इन प्रोग्रेस 0, 33 करोड़ की टर्नओवर पे, रॉ मटेरियल 3 लाख, ये आपको हिंट नहीं दे रहा कि ये अकाउंट एनपीए है? मुझे कहने की आवश्यकता नहीं, परंतु अगर मैं अपने ईयर्स और आईज ओपन नहीं रखूंगा तो ये अकाउंट एनपीए नहीं होगा, क्योंकि उसमें इंटरेस्ट क्रेडिट होता जा रहा। क्योंकि वो जो कई कैश क्रेडिट अकाउंट तो ऑपरेट सिर्फ इतना ही होते हैं कि एक बार उसने पैसा ड्रॉ कर लिया और उसके बाद पूरे साल में 8 एंट्रीज आती हैं, 4 इंटरेस्ट डेबिट की और 4 इंटरेस्ट क्रेडिट की, दैट्स ऑल, नथिंग एल्स। तो भाई कैश क्रेडिट अकाउंट तो आप टर्म लोन नहीं यूज कर सकते। कैश क्रेडिट का मतलब ये है कि उसमें नॉर्मली it must roll over. There have to be transactions in the cash credit account. होती नहीं है। आप दिखा रहे हो टर्नओवर एक कंपनी टर्नओवर दिखा रही है, मेरी टर्नओवर 50 करोड़ की, क्रेडिट्स आ रहे हैं उसके किताबों के अंदर सिर्फ 1 करोड़ के, तो आपको डाउट नहीं होना चाहिए 2 करोड़ के या 3 करोड़ के। तो बाकी पैसा कहाँ जा रहा है भाई? अगर आपकी 50 करोड़ की सेल थी तो बाकी पैसा गया कहाँ पे? Credit summations have to be sufficient to justify the credit limit, to justify the turnover also. There have been cases before the disciplinary committee जिसमें बैंक्स की तरफ से बाद में कंप्लेंट आई कि साहब ये टर्नओवर थी नहीं। और क्या नहीं थी टर्नओवर? क्योंकि किसी ने वैट रिटर्न उसकी देखी नहीं, आजकल जीएसटी रिटर्न नहीं देखी कि भाई एक्चुअल में टर्नओवर कितनी है। तो मुझे ये टर्नओवर तो ये रिटर्न्स तो मुझे बैंक को लेनी है ना, इसकी फाइल देखनी पड़ेगी ना मुझे कि वाकई में टर्नओवर कैसे जस्टिफाई की थी किसी ने, मिलती नहीं है। देयर आर नंबर ऑफ केसेस जहां पे क्रेडिट समेशन होती नहीं, सिर्फ इंटरेस्ट डेबिट होता है, इंटरेस्ट आ जाता है, हम कहते हैं जी अकाउंट परफॉर्मिंग है। ये केसेस बहुत डेंजरस है, इनको जरा देखना पड़ेगा। और जो मैंने पहले बोला, एक केस आपको बता रहा हूं, सिर्फ 1200 करोड़ रुपए का था, वर्क इन प्रोग्रेस आपका virtually it became equivalent to the sale for the full year. वर्क इन प्रोग्रेस अगर बढ़ना शुरू हो जाए कि पहले 5 दिन का था, फिर महीने का हुआ, फिर 2 महीने का हुआ, 3 महीने का हुआ, तो समझ लो स्टॉक साइफन ऑफ हो गया, ये मान के चल रहे थे। ये मैं आपको किसी किताब में से नहीं पढ़ा रहा हूँ, अपने एक्सपीरियंस से बता रहा हूँ बात को। जहां जहां पे भी मेरा वर्क इन प्रोग्रेस बढ़ना शुरू होता और रैपिडली बढ़ता, इस केस में दिस वर्क इन प्रोग्रेस हैड बिकम मोर और लेस इक्विवेलेंट टू द ईयरली टर्नओवर। और जब हमने फाइल पढ़नी शुरू की तो फाइल में हमें यह मिला कि एवरेज सेल रियलाइजेशन प्राइस इज 1300 रुपीज पर केजी और वर्क इन प्रोग्रेस वाज वैल्यूड एट 2400 रुपीज पर केजी। पहली बार मुझे लगा कि अकाउंटिंग जो है बड़ी इनोवेटिव हो गई यार, कि वर्क इन प्रोग्रेस तो 2400 रुपए पर केजी पे वैल्यू करूंगा और एवरेज सेल रियलाइजेशन प्राइस होगी मेरी 1300 रुपए पर केजी। तो जब हमने पूछा भी ये क्या है, तो बोले जी नहीं तो डीपी कैसे बनती। तो धन्य है वो कंपनी का ऑडिटर जिसने वो बैलेंस शीट साइन की, और धन्य है इस ब्रांच के ऑडिटर्स जो पहले करते रहे, दोनों ही धन्य है। और मैनेजमेंट बैंक की तो धन्य है ही, जिसने ये कभी गौर ही नहीं किया कि क्या हो रहा। सिर्फ 1700 करोड़ रुपए का टोटल बैंकिंग इंडस्ट्री का था और एक पर्टिकुलर बैंक में 1200 करोड़ रुपए का अकाउंट, which had to be done NPA immediately। और दूसरी बात आपसे ये कहना चाह रहा हूं, क्योंकि मैं कैश क्रेडिट के ऊपर ज्यादा जोर मार रहा हूं और क्योंकि मेरा यही एरिया रहेगा आज आपके साथ, कि कैश क्रेडिट अकाउंट में, क्योंकि जब आपके स्टॉक स्टेटमेंट्स, डेटर स्टेटमेंट्स, अब तो हमने कारों के अंदर कह दिया कि भाई 5 करोड़ से ऊपर की कैश क्रेडिट फैसिलिटी, वर्किंग कैपिटल फैसिलिटीज हैं, तो इवन कंपनी के ऑडिटर को लिखना है, पहले तो मैनेजमेंट लिखेगी फिर ऑडिटर लिखेगा कि क्या जो स्टॉक स्टेटमेंट्स और डेटर स्टेटमेंट्स फाइल हुई हैं वो वाकई में बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट से फाइल हुई है या हवा में से फाइल हुई है। और ये भी फैक्ट है तो ये हवा में से फाइल होती है मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम। हम एसए 250 को समझ ही नहीं पा रहे कंपनी ऑडिट में, ना हम एसए 240 को, ना एसए 240 की अहमियत हम यहाँ समझ पा रहे हैं, ना एसए 240 की अहमियत वहां समझ पा रहे हैं। मैं ब्रांच को ऑडिट कर रहा हूँ, वो स्टॉक स्टेटमेंट दिए जा रहा है, किसी फॉर्मेट में नहीं है, कोई रेट नहीं दे रखा, सिर्फ ये क्वांटिटी देता है, टोटल अमाउंट दे देता है और मैं उसको भूल जाता हूँ। मैं समझता हूँ ठीक है। इज इट नॉट क्रिएटिंग सस्पिशन इन योर माइंड? एक व्यक्ति, अगर मैं कंपनी का भी ऑडिटर हूं और वहां पे उसने लिमिट्स एंजॉय कर रखी हैं और मुझे पता है कि स्टॉक नहीं है यहाँ पे, तो मुझे उसमें देखना नहीं है कि क्या पोजीशन है, क्या ऐसे 240 नहीं अट्रैक्ट होता क्या? आई थिंक समवेयर और द अदर वी हैव लॉस्ट ट्रैक। मेरी गुजारिश ये है कि जो जहां जहां पे जिस जिस कैश क्रेडिट अकाउंट में स्टॉक स्टेटमेंट फॉर्मेट में नहीं है, ओपनिंग स्टॉक, परचेजेस, इश्यूज या सेल्स, क्लोजिंग स्टॉक एंड द रेट एंड द अमाउंट, इसको जितना गौर से देख सकें देख लीजिएगा। इससे ज्यादा आपको और कुछ नहीं कहना चाहता हूँ जहां तक इसका सवाल है। और डेटर्स के अंदर लेसर दी सेट दी बेटर इट इज। आप ही के यहाँ का केस है, बता देता हूँ। पूरे साल की टर्नओवर 1 अप्रैल से लेके 31 मार्च तक की 205 करोड़ की। ओपनिंग डेटर्स 55 करोड़ के थे। 31 दिसंबर इन बिटवीन 9 महीने के जो डेटर सर्टिफाई हुए हैं वो 296 करोड़ के सर्टिफाई हुए, 295 करोड़ के। अगर पूरे साल की सेल ओपनिंग स्टॉक ओपनिंग डेटर्स में ऐड कर लूं तो 260 से ऊपर नहीं बनते, अगर सारे के सारी सेल क्रेडिट में थी और एक भी पैसा नहीं आया। और आप 31 दिसंबर को सर्टिफाई कर देते हैं डेटर्स को 295 करोड़। और एज ए ब्रांच ऑडिटर मैं उस स्टेटमेंट को देखता नहीं हूं कि इसने टर्नओवर कितनी फाइल कर रखी है और डेटर्स कितने फाइल कर रखे हैं। जब मैं अगले सपोज कीजिए 31, ये मैं अगर केस बोल रहा हूं कि 1/4/2015 से लेके 31 मार्च 2016 तक का था और 2016 की जो टर्नओवर थी वो 31 मार्च 2016 तक की टर्नओवर 205 करोड़ थी। जब मैं ऑडिट करने जा रहा हूँ 2016-17 का ऑडिट करने जा रहा हूँ, तो अगर मैं पिछले साल में जाके एक बार भी देख लूं कि पिछले साल की टर्नओवर कितनी थी और पिछले साल के डेटर्स कितने कंफर्म किए हुए थे, तो फ्रॉड तो मेरी आंखों के सामने है। कैश क्रेडिट अकाउंट में आपको ये करना ही पड़ेगा कि पिछले सालों की बैलेंस शीट जो ऑडिटेड आई हुई है उसको उसके स्टॉक स्टेटमेंट से, उसके डेटर स्टेटमेंट से कंपेयर करिए और अगर आपको उसमें गलत नजर आती है तो उसको एनपीए करके, एनपीए क्या डाउटफुल करके आ जाइएगा, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है। क्योंकि 90% केसेस में आपको ये मिल रहा है कि भाई उसमें जो स्टॉक स्टेटमेंट्स देता रहा है उसमें और जो ऑडिटेड बैलेंस शीट है, स्टॉक स्टेटमेंट्स हमेशा ज्यादा की थी, डेटर स्टेटमेंट हमेशा ज्यादा की थी कंपेयर टू द ऑडिटेड बैलेंस शीट, और क्रेडिटर्स हमेशा 1/3 थे कंपेयर टू द ऑडिटेड बैलेंस शीट। तो डीपी कभी निकलेगी नहीं आपकी। What I am trying to tell you is cash credit is one area which is absolutely fraud prone, और जितना पैसा साइफन ऑफ हुआ वो कैश क्रेडिट के थ्रू हुआ। अल्टीमेटली कैश क्रेडिट जाकर लग गया कहीं पे। ये जो मैंने पहले आपको केस बताया कि 8 ही एंट्रीज आती हैं कि आपने कैश क्रेडिट के थ्रू पैसा ले लिया, लगा दिया कहीं और, अब आप उसका सिर्फ इंटरेस्ट सर्व किए जा रहे हो, बाकी कुछ नहीं कर रहे। My humble submission to you is कि please take the cash credit account as seriously as possible. हम लेते नहीं, हमारी समस्या यह है कि हमें फाइल देखने में दिक्कत होती है, तो कागज बहुत होते हैं फाइल के अंदर। पर आपको ये बता सकता हूँ कि कैश क्रेडिट अकाउंट का ऑडिट आप नहीं कर सकते जब तक आप फाइल को नहीं पढ़ेंगे। और मैं तो यहां तक बोलता हूँ कि अगर आप किसी ब्रांच का ऑडिट कर रहे हैं उसमें 10 कंपनीज के बारोर्स हैं, 10 कंपनी बारोर्स हैं अलग अलग, कम से कम 2 की जिसको भी आप समझे मुनासिब है उन किसी 2 कंपनी की या 3 कंपनीज की एमसीए में जाके बैलेंस शीट डाउनलोड करें, 60-70 रुपए का खर्चा, 100 रुपए का खर्चा, और उसको कंपेयर कर लीजिए जो ऑडिटेड बैलेंस शीट उसने मुझे दी हुई है, बैंक को दी हुई है, आपको पता लग जाएगा कहाँ पे खड़ा हूँ। you will come to know very clearly where do I stand. Mark my words. कोई ना कोई बैलेंस शीट आपके हाथ लग जाएगी जिसमें फ्रॉड आपको मिलेगा, और अगर एक भी मिल जाती है, आई थिंक यू हैव डन योर जॉब एज एन ऑडिटर. और दूसरी बात, अब तो यूडिन है, आपको ये जब रिन्यूअल होती है या रिव्यू होती है कैश क्रेडिट अकाउंट्स की, तो उस वक्त ये बहुत होता है कि भाई कंपाइल्ड फ्रॉम बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स का सर्टिफिकेट ले आओ चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट से. यूडिन नहीं है उस पर लगा हुआ, तो डोंट रिलाई ऑन दैट. प्रोविजनल बैलेंस शीट के ऊपर यूडिन नहीं लगा हुआ, थ्रो इट इनटू द डस्टबिन. वो है ही नहीं, उसकी कोई सिग्निफिकेंस नहीं. और उसमें जितना आप सीरियसली जा सकते हो उस केस में उतना सीरियसली चले जाइएगा. कैश क्रेडिट अकाउंट में रिन्यूअल में भी दिक्कत है, रिव्यू में भी दिक्कत है. पर रिन्यू ही नहीं होता, रिव्यू नहीं होता अकाउंट. 180 दिन के अंदर जो, क्योंकि दो नॉन फाइनेंशियल पैरामीटर्स हैं, दोनों के दोनों नॉन फाइनेंशियल पैरामीटर्स ये कहते हैं अगर 180 दिन से ज्यादा की इरेगुलरिटी, पहला है नॉन फाइनेंशियल पैरामीटर कि अगर आपने किसी को डीपी अलाउ कर रखी है based upon a stock statement which is more than 180 days old, then also the account has to be classified as NPA. और दूसरा ये कहता है कि अगर आपका रिन्यूअल या रिव्यू नहीं हुआ for a period of 180 days, then also the account has to be classified as NPA. बैंक वाले उसको शॉर्ट रिव्यू करते रहते हैं. यहाँ पे 2 शॉर्ट रिव्यू के बियॉन्ड क्या NPA करके आ जाइएगा, कोई दिक्कत की बात नहीं. RBI is absolutely clear so far as that part is concerned. मेरी आपसे विनती है, देखिए बैंक का काम है उसने अपने एंगल से काम करना, मेरा एंगल अपना है, आरबीआई का एंगल अपना. मुझे अपने स्टैंडर्ड्स के अकॉर्डिंगली काम करना, क्योंकि मैंने एक मैनेजमेंट रिप्रेजेंटेशन ले लिया कि सब कुछ ठीक ठाक है, उससे सब कुछ ठीक ठाक नहीं होता है. SF5 is very clear so far as that part is concerned. Every management representation has to be tested for its veracity. So what I am trying to tell you is कि जब आप कैश क्रेडिट की बात करें, उसके स्टॉक लेवल, उसके डेटर्स लेवल, उसका ऑपरेटिंग साइकिल, उसके क्रेडिटर्स लेवल, उसकी बैलेंस शीट्स पिछले, उसके स्टॉक स्टेटमेंट्स पिछले, उसके डेटर स्टेटमेंट पिछले, उसके जो ऑपरेशन ऑफ अकाउंट है उसको जितनी अच्छी तरह से जान सकते हैं उतनी अच्छी तरह से जान सकते हैं. That's all I would like to say because my time is already over. Krishna Kumar ji,
Yes,
I
sir.
could have gone on for another few hours, but I think this is good enough for the
Right.
day.
Right.
It's already almost 12:30 now,
Right.
so 12:25. So thank you very much for the opportunity. God bless you all, and happy branch auditing. That's all I can say.
Sir, I request 1 or 2 questions from members. If anybody would like to ask any question to past president, sir. So only 3 questions will be entertained. So members can unmute themselves and ask question one by one.
Yeah, this is Jay Chandran calling from Chennai.
Yes, please.
Yeah, Amarjit, see, that was a wonderful thing. It's very lucky that I know Hindi, so I could understand most of what you were saying, but people from the south find it difficult. Second point I would like to say is that when you talk about review and it has not been reviewed, automatically when, you know, as per the sanction letter, penal charges apply because it was not renewed. So leakage of income is another corollary to that.
No, true.
Would you like to say?
That goes without saying, but I will only like to say, as a statutory branch auditor, our concern is not merely the income leakage, because that will be dealt with by the concurrent auditors also and the revenue auditors also. Our main concern is the identification of NPA and the comments with regard to the long form audit report, because long form audit report is so long now, because I generally say in the long form audit report, there is a very specific question with regard to, you can say, renewal of account or review of accounts. Okay, how many accounts have not been renewed or reviewed for a period exceeding 180 days? अब वहां तो मैं लिखता हूँ 4 केसेस ऐसे हैं जिनका रिन्यूअल नहीं हुआ 180 दिन से ऊपर. I write that, but in the MOC there is no account. So then I am contradicting myself. In the long form audit report, I write that there are number of accounts where the stock statements have not been received for a period of 12 months or 6 months or more than that. But I don't give any MOC in the main audit report. There again, I contradict myself. So there are questions in the long form audit report today where if I answer them in one way, then I have to be very clear as to how I'm actually covering it in the MOC also. So far as your point of revenue leakage is concerned, I do agree that if during the course of your audit, you come across any thing whereby you catch hold of certain revenue leakages, please give the MOC for that, without doubt. Now, usme, I will say you have to be both ways. You cannot only say that where there is a revenue leakage, I will give MOC, but wherever the bank has overcharged the interest, I will not give the MOC. There also give the MOC. The reason being, how do you know that tomorrow the party may claim the excess amount charged by the bank, from the bank? So that also needs to be taken care of.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Excellent, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next question. Any member?
Hello, Krishna Kumar.
Yeah. Yes,
This is
Vandana ji.
it was really eye-opener session from him. So many years we are doing the audit, and mind well, we generally focus on renewals part, but checking the balance sheet is also very important. Can sir give light के was simple decide करने के लिए cash credit में what should be the pointers we should be considering?
No, one thing is very clear. You see, so far as Reserve Bank of India is concerned, they have already defined the large advances. It is 10% of the total advance portfolio, funded plus non-funded, or rupees 10 crore, whichever is lesser, basically. So that you, in any case, you have to pick up. And the lesser is the sample that you can pick up. And today, one thing that you have to be very clear is that in the long form audit report itself, you have to mention the names of the account that you have examined in large advances. You cannot, वो दिन चले गए जब मैं लिखता नहीं था नाम कौन सा अकाउंट चेक किया मुझे. आज तो मुझे अकाउंट का नाम तक देना है कि कौन सा अकाउंट मैंने चेक किया है, और जो अकाउंट मैंने चेक किया उसमें मुझे सब कुछ चेक करना है. उसकी सैंक्शन भी चेक करनी है, उसकी टर्म्स एंड कंडीशंस की कंप्लायंस भी चेक करनी है, उसका रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट भी चेक करना है, उसका ऑपरेशन भी चेक करना है, उसकी मॉनिटरिंग भी चेक करनी है, सब चेक करना है. जो दूसरे अकाउंट्स हैं वहां पे आरबीआई भी ये नहीं कहता कि कितना आप चेक करेंगे, पर वो ये कहता है कि उसमें आप कमेंट करेंगे विद रिगार्ड टू द प्रोसेसेस एंड सिस्टम्स. अगर उसमें सपोज कीजिए कोई गफलत है कि स्टॉक स्टेटमेंट्स नहीं आ रही हैं, या आपके कोई और डेफिशिएंसीज हैं, या रिन्यूअल या रिव्यू टाइम पे नहीं आ रहा, तो आप उसको मेंशन करिए. बट आई पर्सनली फील किसी भी सूरत में उन अकाउंट्स का भी जो सैंपल है वो 10% से 20% से कम नहीं होना चाहिए.
थैंक यू सर. पर
उसमें सिर्फ ये है कि अगर आपके एग्रीकल्चरल एडवांसेस की ब्रांच है और एग्रीकल्चरल एडवांसेस आपके रन इनटू थाउजेंड्स, तो शायद इवन 10% में भी हायर नंबर. तो उसमें आपको फिर ये छानना पड़ेगा कि कौन से अकाउंट्स आपके SMA 2 में ज्यादा थे, तो SMA 2 वाले अकाउंट्स को आप ज्यादा चेक कर लें, या SMA 1 अकाउंट को ज्यादा चेक कर लें. तो इट विल ऑल डिपेंड अपॉन basically the circumstances and the nature of a particular branch.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Last question. Mohit ji, you would like to ask any question?
Yeah. Sir, I would like to ask one question, that in balance sheet, there is a huge amount in head of inter-unit or inter-branch segment. And the general answer comes that it has been taken care by head office. So it is very difficult.
That's a factual position. Inter-branch unit की जो वो है, वो that will be taken, but what you find out is inter-branch unit की डिटेल ले लीजिए उनसे क्या है. अगर इंटर-ब्रांच यूनिट में ये पड़ा है कि भाई यहाँ से टीटी गई और वो अनरिस्पॉन्डेड है, तो वो फ्रॉड की सिचुएशन है. लेट्स बी वेरी क्लियर अबाउट इट. यहाँ से आपने एसेट ट्रांसफर की और एसेट दूसरी जगह से रिस्पॉन्ड नहीं हुई, दैट्स आल्सो फ्रॉड काइंड ऑफ सिचुएशन. कैश ट्रांसफर हुआ किसी को, किसी दूसरी ब्रांच को, और वो रिस्पॉन्ड नहीं हुआ, देन दैट्स डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ अ पोजीशन. बाकी ट्रांजैक्शंस में आप शायद रिलाई कर सकते हैं, परंतु अनरिस्पॉन्डेड कैश ट्रांजैक्शंस में या अनरिस्पॉन्डेड TTs में या unresponded transfer of assets में you have to be extremely careful.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So I think there are no more questions. So now, sir, you are the legend speaker on the overview of bank branch audit, and you had shared your views of your more than 4 decades of experience of bank branch audit in very simple and lucid manner in just approximately less than 90 minutes time. I can assure that our more than 250 participants who had attended today's webinar must have been benefited after listening you, sir. And I am hopeful that our members will be able to do their bank branch audit assignment with more meaningful and will able to do justice with their work. I thank you, sir, for taking time out of your busy schedule on this Sunday afternoon. And I once again thanks for your great words. Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you, Krishnaji. In any case, if Sanjeev tells me something, I cannot say no. In any case, I can only tell you that.
Yes,
There's
sir.
no way that I could ever say no.
Yes, yes. So thank you. And now, so we will start the second session where this IDBI Bank's Executive Director, Shri Sunit Sarkar ji will address the gathering. So, Sunit sir, you are there? Sunit sir? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yes, sir. Welcome to the JB Nagar Study Circle, sir. And
Thank you.
yeah. So our next speaker is Shri Sunit Sarkar, who is a IIT graduate and seasoned banker, and currently holding the post of Executive Director Audit in IDBI Bank. Now I request, and he is going to cover majorly 3 aspects. One is this NPA as per IRAC norms, frauds, and concurrent auditor role in bank statutory branch audit. So now I request our past convener and core group member, C. Manish Jadia ji, to formally introduce the speaker, Shri Sunit Sarkar ji. Over to you, Manish ji.
Thank you, convener ji. So for the second session, we have with us Mr. Sunit Sarkar. Although he is, I would not say although, he is definitely an IIT engineer, and hence after that, he has mastered financial engineering so well that he is now the executive internal auditor of IDBI Bank. He has been in this financial world from last 2 decades and has a vast experience in bank audits. He has been instrumental to formulating first common CDR package of IDBI, which was to major steel group. He had been regional head for stress asset stabilization fund, which has been an independent fund set up by Government of India. He has been regional head of infrastructure corporate group East, responsible for providing financial assistance to specific sector called infraspace. He was also instrumental in developing and implementing quality assurance audit system and processes in IDBI, which contributes to an early detection mechanism and reduces NPA. He has been now on the board of internal audit division of IDBI, taking care of audit systems. With this short background, I welcome Sunit Sarkar ji to the JB Nagar Study Circle, and now it's over to you, convener sir.
Sir, you can start the session, and I once again welcome you to our platform. Over to you, sir.
So thank you very much, Krishnaji, Manish-ji, for the short introduction. In fact, although I am a engineering graduate from IIT Kharagpur, but later on, I was in the industry for 4 years, and then thereafter I joined IDBI through lateral recruitment. And of course, I have spent more than 25 years in IDBI. Over the period, I have gained management qualifications as well as banking qualifications, which has helped me in my daily activities. Over and above that, most of my tenure has been in credit and credit-related departments. But definitely, audit department was something new when I was transferred to the department 3.5 years back. But then, as Krishnaji was saying that over time you gain expertise and experience, and I'll share some of my experiences which has happened over the last 3.5 years. Of course, Dr. Chopra has covered most of my work, but what I'll do is that I will touch upon the concurrent audit because that is very important in today's context. And number two is that some portion of LFAR. And third point, which is very important, which is a burning issue in banking system today as well as NBFCs, is on frauds. Okay, I don't know whether the fraud is the topic for your study circle, but I felt that it's very important. And we need to understand the roles and responsibilities of statutory auditors, concurrent auditors, as well as third-party entities. Okay, with that small introduction, I'll start my session. Of course, if any questions are there in between, I can take it, no issues. I'll stop and we'll take the questions instead of waiting for the end, because many people I'm seeing on Sunday, they are leaving the session and because of their preoccupation. But in between, if you have any questions, I'll be very happy to address those, whatever is there. So I'll start with basic, what are the expectations and from the bank side. Of course, right now I'm looking after internal audit, and I'm the head of internal audit of the bank as a whole. And what are the expectations of the auditors, from the bank perspective? First is that, see, we have seen earlier that, don't take it otherwise, but I'm just giving you case studies, but it can be exceptions, is that chartered accountants or auditors would give end-use certificates rampantly, without checking anything, See, I'll share a small experience which I had while I was in Calcutta office. Is that for a case they had given induced certificate for a 5 crore loan without checking anything, which we later on. Okay, but what happened really is that that case turned out to be a fraud, and the major reason for fraud was that induced was not monitored. And the assets for which it was given, that asset has not landed in the premises of the borrower company. So then, first point of hit comes to the chartered accountant who had given that certificate. Right. So I think I, along with the CBI officers, had gone to ICAI office in Calcutta. I'm just sharing my personal experience, not to intimidate, but yes, to bring out the facts about the roles and responsibilities. I went to ICAI a number of occasions along with the CBI officer, and of course there's a fraternity feeling over there. But I think the roles and responsibilities of banks and CBIs are almost the same. We are on one side and the ICAI is on the other side. That case continued for almost 10-15 years. I remember the last name of the person, Mr. Surana. I think I don't remember the first name. So ultimately, he had to go to Supreme Court for taking a decision, and even the Supreme Court said that I think this is a quasi-judiciary body. ICAI is a quasi-judiciary body, and since CBI got involved and other bankers are also there, I think you take your own decision. They also didn't give a decision. Okay. But ultimately, at the end of the day, ICAI gave him a clean sheet and with all some kind of riders and advices and all those things. But I think that is not the main point. The point is that when the chartered accountants or statutory auditors are giving certificates, Dr. Chopra, I was hearing his session. Dr. Chopra gave a very important point. You should test whatever data or information which has been given by the management. Because tomorrow management will say that chartered accountants have put in based on their risk, because we have given our own, but chartered accountants, they would have tested, they would have seen the accounts, and so it is shifting of the blame game starts. So I think that is first thing which is very important. Second thing, which is the expectations from the chartered accountants and concurrent auditors, basically, is that see, when the chartered accounting firms send some inter or become graduate for this concurrent audit or those kind of activities, I think I agree that the fees are not commensurate with the roles and responsibilities in certain cases. But I think what Dr. Chopra said is very important, is that you should have a training class before you send them. They should know the jargons, they should know the abbreviations, they should know what are the banking terms. Without that, I think going to a branch and interpreting a lot of issues, although there is a checklist which is available, it becomes very difficult. It becomes very difficult for a BCom graduate or a intergraduate to interpret all those issues correctly. Now, third point, which I think is very important, which I should stress today, is that CVC in its guidelines 2021 as well as DFS, recent circular of DFS, they have mentioned that third-party entities, including chartered accountants, valuers, as well as legal firms, etc., whoever is contributing to the entire loan life cycle of a borrower, in case the account turns out to be fraud, then staff accountability will be determined, firstly, for all these third-party entities. Secondly, they will be put in caution list if there is if it is examined and found that there is a involvement of chartered accountants or valuers or whatever. And thirdly is that there could be situations wherein their name could be included in the FIR. So, in fact, I don't want to name the company, but there were 7 companies, group of companies from North. Because I am sharing all these experiences, I'll come to the topic later on. I want to take half an hour from all of you, mainly because I don't want this session to be only theoretical. I want it to be practical also, and I am sharing case studies, live case studies with you, so that I think when you are sending your people or you are going on your own, you should be careful. So 7 group companies with common statutory auditor, a good size of companies, total group turnover would be around 200 crore. So they had fudged the balance sheet. There were 2 balance sheets. One was balance sheet has been filed with ROC. The other balance sheet has been submitted to the bank. So that was a major reason for fraud. So because the DP, which was basis of which loan was sanctioned, was much higher than the requirement, which was found out a later date. So it's under the master directions of fraud, it immediately is categorized as fraud. So in this case, in addition to the promoters or the owners of this company, the chartered accountants are included in the FIR. So, I mean, although we are talking of exceptions, but I think we should be very careful and remember that we cannot be hand in glove with the promoter for this kind of activities. Although we have bigger names like ILFS and others there, but I think for smaller companies also, I think we need to be very careful. Having said that, I think we'll start with the concurrent audit, because concurrent audit, I feel, will start for almost all the banks sometime in May, June. Okay, and the allotment will start. And so I think we should understand what are the main areas where we should look into it, and what are the operational risks and what are the credit risks involved in this concurrent audit.
Sir, just wanted to add regarding that named FIR. So the other day we were meeting with the ITAT member. So he was mentioning that there is a site of CBI where we can see the FIR what CBI is filing in the case of bank fraud. And in that nowadays, at least 60 to 70% cases, banks are filing the named FIR against the their valuer and auditors. So anyone can see those FIR. So he was mentioning that we should be very, very cautious while doing our duties nowadays. Now you can continue, sir.
Yes, I couldn't agree more than what Krishna ji said, because this is very important, because now everybody is after revenue, income and all those things. But I think at the end of the day, we also need to look at whether we are doing our job well and whether we are doing it consciously with ethics. So that is very important. I think money will come and go, but I think bad name or those kind of spots, once it is put in the IVA caution list, you are debarred from the entire banking fraternity.
Right.
I think that is very more serious than anything else. Okay.
Right.
So I think with that we start the concurrent audit. So now the concurrent audit, basically in our bank, what we do is that concurrent audit are allotted to CA firms. We don't entertain any entity except for CA firms, although there were representations from CMAs and others to include them, but we have restricted ourselves to CA firms and with category 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So depending on the risk profile and the requirement of the bank, there are high risk and very high risk branches which are included in the concurrent audit. Concurrent audit is like a SMA for bigger companies, wherein we do specialized monitoring agencies of 250 crore and above. Concurrent audit is almost the same, but it is only for branches and non-branch segments. So depending on the risk profile of the branches, concurrent auditors are appointed pan-India, and they're supposed to do a daily checking of the lapses, irregularities which are happening in the bank, and give their report on monthly basis. So those reports are looked into by the management, and then there are compliances which needs to be taken from branch head, and after that only the concurrent audit gets closed. So what are the main things which we look at in the concurrent audit? Because the formats of concurrent audit are not standardized bank wide, but for our bank, I can tell you some samples which we look at. Possibly these are areas where the persons who are sent to the branches need to be properly trained. First is persisting irregularities from earlier concurrent audit reports. So I think this is very important, because this earlier concurrent audit report, in case there are certain deficiencies which is pointed out, whether it has been rectified. There could be rectification immediate or the rectifications over a period of time, but that needs to be seen and certified. Second is income leakage. So what Dr. Chopra was discussing about income leakage in both LFAR as well as branch statutory audit, I completely agree with him. That is also appearing in concurrent audit. In LFAR, based on the directions of RBI, the item is name of accounts and amount where processing charges, documentation charges, commitment charges are yet to be recovered. So I think this LFAR format has been standardized pan bank. Okay. And I think it is appearing in LFAR format, it is appearing in internal audit format, it is appearing in concurrent audit format. So income leakage is very important in this context, because the branch profitability depends on the income leakage. In case there is a huge income leakage, I think that branch loses out on that profitability point of view. So the income leakage in most of the banks, we have seen that it is manual. It is manually done. But in some of the banks, we have seen that it is absolutely system oriented and linked with philanthropy. So I think in our bank, we have partly made it system, and we are in the process of making it full within the next 3 to 6 months. So income leakage is one important point. The second is cash. Cash verification of physical cash, surprise verification of cash to be done by the concurrent at least once in a month. Whether branch head is conducting surprise verification of cash every month. Whether branch is adhering to clean note policy, and all packets were having paper branding only, and banks label, branch stamp, date stamp, and teller. So these are things which the concurrent auditor needs to look at when he's looking from the cash point of view. Then there are other points which are the joint custody of cash and other precautions. So I think my suggestion to all of you is that when you are sending concurrent auditors, just have a look at the concurrent audit format, and in case you need to guide them on the RBI circulars or bank circulars, I think you should give access to them so that they can go through it and see what needs to be done. Then the fourth is bait money. Then there are cash limits, CRL, cash retention limits of the bank, whether it's average cash retention limit, whether the transaction is above 10 lakh, whether PAN number form 60 has been done, whether cash balances above retention limits are being regularly disposed or remitted. So these are relating to cash, which I think the concurrent auditor needs to comment upon and see to it that the branch is giving satisfactory compliance. The third item which is important is ATM, both on-site and off-site. So physical verification of ATM cash and cash obtained through BNA machine. Then secondly is that whether joint custody of ATM cash operations is maintained. Third is whether branch has maintained updated ATM and BNA logbook and ATM and BNA reconciliation register. So etc. etc. So I think that is third part of it. The fourth is security stationery. In respect of monthly verification of security stationery is carried out, then whether it is under dual custody. So those kind of activities which all falls under operational risk. The third is deliverables, whether the auditors to conduct a physical verification of deliverables like debit card pins, INET pins, DI slips with daily reconciliation register. If any, there is a difference, please report. Okay. So like that, there are certain things relating to deliverables which the bank needs to give it to their customers. The sixth is stop payment. Concurrent auditor should check at least once in a fortnight regarding stop
Sir, we are not. Sir, you are on mute.
I think this is okay now.
Yes, yes. Now it is okay.
So FEMA compliance is important in this context because where we look at the purpose of foreign contribution, then copy of registration certificate issued by Home Ministry kept on record with AOF, that is account opening form. So the other activities which are there, these are all regulatory compliances. FEMA compliances are regulatory compliances. Then we have buy transactions, that is the USD buy transactions, which are restricted for foreign currencies, and that money transfer service scheme. Then 8th is suspense account. Current content auditor should check once in a week. So in suspense account, RBI has come out with an important circular on OAOL account and using of suspense account. This is for this circular is directed towards all the banks, not only for IDBI, because the problems are most in for different varied purpose. One purpose is for saving of NPAs and thereby provisions. The second is basically some kind of money laundering activities. There are certain activities wherein OTS settlements are being done through the suspense accounts and office accounts. So these are things which they need to look at, and I think RBI has come down heavily on almost all the banks on this aspect. The other point is clearing of accounts reconciled on daily basis, whether clearing vouchers instruments are passed properly by the authorized officials. And lastly, report checking. Content auditor should check once in a fortnight all the reports, exception reports, AML tracks reports, CMS, LIBOR, all the master directions of generation, checking, preservation of reports. So BHCC, that is branch head compliance certificate, asset compliance certificate, e-register for report generation. So those are the report checking which has to be done once in a fortnight. Then there are other things which are there. I think mutual funds are there, government business is there, DMAT, signature capture, voucher scrutiny, voucher management, content auditor should check once in a fortnight. Then government, then we have so next is housekeeping, income leakage. Then it will take a long time if we go in detail, but I'm just telling you the main headings: closure and monitoring of dormant inactive accounts. These are very important thing. RBI also has given directions on monitoring of dormant and inactive accounts, customer service, complaints monitoring. Then advances sanctioned at the branch level, which is mainly concentrating on the credit risk management. So I think, and then the last would be BCBF arrangement. Okay. So why I am stressing more on content audit, because right now in most of the banks, the statutory auditors are doing LFR activity. Okay. So in LFR activity, what they are, RBI expects that statutory auditors give a comprehensive report. The responsibilities and liabilities have increased leaps and bounds in the LFAR report, based on the direction of RBI last year. So what they are doing, they are relying on documents, they are relying on reports, audit reports of the bank. Okay. Now it's a back-to-back transaction, actually, back-to-back comfort which they are trying to take. Why I specifically mentioned about concurrent audit is that the concurrent audit and internal audit are being sought. The access of the audit management system is being sought by the statutory auditors of the bank for getting to know about the operation lapses as well as credit lapses which are happening in the bank. So if the concurrent audit report is comprehensive, if it is up to the mark, up to the quality, And of course, internal audit is the responsibility of the bank. So then we are sure that we can give a correct and right picture to the statutory auditor when they are visiting the branches, because branch visit is based on, let's say, or we have 1800 branches. Possibly they'll be visiting on 20-25 branches. So whatever they want to have access to a concurrent audit as well as internal audit, mainly to get a feel of what is happening in the bank, because they can't go to 1800 branches. They next to impossible. So I think we need to be very careful when we are doing concurrent audit, because ultimately it will get scrutinized at the when LFAR is being made by the statutory auditors of the bank. So I think some problem. Acha, okay. So this is relating to concurrent auditors. So next I'll come to the fraud. But Krishnaji, you have any specific session on banking frauds?
We are having another session on next Sunday, physical session. So in that, it will cover very briefly, not on detailed session. Only 10-15 minutes will be there on this. But you can cover some fraud. Fraud is a requirement of the day, so you can cover some fraud.
So fraud area, I think I thought it is very important in today's context,
Yes,
because
yes, sir.
in case false certifications or inadvertently or advertently is given by the statutory auditors or concurrent auditors, then we invite trouble for all of us. Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, sir.
So what we have done an exercise within internal audit department. So what we have done is that we have taken a sample of live cases. That is, first is fraud cases 100 crore and above, top 10 cases. Fraud cases of 50 crore to 100 crore, top 10 cases. Then fraud cases 10 crore to 50 crore, top 10 cases. Then fraud cases 1 crore to 10 crore, top 10. Fraud cases below 1 crore. And the other bucket is special investigative audit, which we have carried out at different branches based on certain triggers. The next is non-technological liability fraud and OD against FD. Then we have taken legal audit reports, we have taken internal audit reports and vigilance cases. Okay, so these are our population of cases on which we have done an exercise, and we found out what are the main reasons for this fraud and how to mitigate it. Because these are the types of anomalies or lapses which is happening, and although statutory auditors during the forensic audit report, they would say that okay, management had given a paper on this, management has supported with document, but at the end of the day, I think investigating authorities will not be satisfied with this kind of answers. So I'll just start with things which we need to look at. Which we need to look at when we are doing branch audit, and then I'll come to bigger cases. Okay, so Kisan Credit Card, KCC. I think this is a very popular product, agri product under the PSL or PSG group of each of the banks. So in that, what we have found out, which is almost uniform with other banks also, on sample study of KCC cases, it is observed that in majority of the cases, multiple financing availed by the borrower on the same underlying collateral security, that is the agricultural land, from different banks. So in this regard, what we have suggested from the internal audit department is that it is suggested wherever mortgage is not applicable, that is KCC loan up to 1.6 lakh, loan details may be updated in the local revenue records and Patadar passbook or any other state government revenue records, which is the only security available with the bank. So KCC experience with our bank has not been good, actually, because of this problem which has happened. And in most of the states, this registration is being done on manual basis, not on automatic basis.
Sir, your sound is not very clear.
So next, which is again a popular product, the PSG, in which on sample study of cases observed majority cases having got triggered induced
Sir.
by borrowers for fraudulent.
Sir, just to interrupt, your voice is not clear, sir.
Is not clear.
Can you bring the mic little nearer?
Now is it okay?
Yes, yes, it is better.
Now it is okay?
Yes, sir. It is okay.
So warehouse received on sample study of WHR fraud cases, it is observed that majority of the cases having fraud triggered induced by borrowers fraudulent intention, that is taking out the underlying commodity stock from the godown in connivance with the collateral manager and storing inferior quality stock in the godown as security. Okay, so in fact we have made certain suggestions of CCTV and other things, changing of the agreement with the collateral manager. But I think this is a major risk, which I think the content auditor or the branch audit, when somebody is doing a branch audit, when there is a KCC portfolio as well as WHR portfolio, these are the things which he should look at and see to it that everything is perfect, and logbook at the entry of this go down, logbook at the entry exit of the go down, all these things are maintained appropriately. Next is cash credit limit. So cash credit limit, what we have seen for detailed cases, I will talk of corporate cases at later date, later time. It mentions that on sample study of cash credit limit, it is observed that majority of the lapses are related to deficiencies in the appraisal process, underlying security and monitoring. So if you look at the loan life cycle, it starts with loan bringing the loan into the books of the bank, then credit appraisal, then disbursement, then monitoring, and then of course the closure of the loan. But in this case, it is observed that the deficiencies in the appraisal process, underlying security and monitoring. These are the three important things which I think needs to be commented upon by the content auditors or statutory auditors, because what is happening is that later on these 3 points are responsible for account turning either NPA or fraud. Appraisal process means whether the product guidelines have been followed. Basically, I'll just guide. Appraisal process means whether product guidelines have been followed, and sanction process has been followed. Sanction DOP has been followed. The right person has sanctioned the right loan. Underlying security means whether the security has been mortgaged and perfected, hypothecated, whatever is there, it has to be whether it has been done. And monitoring means visits undertaken, stock statement, FFR, all those whatever reports are to be submitted to the bank are being done. So if these things are being commented upon by the chartered accountants or the content auditors or branch auditors, I think they are doing a fair job. People will accept that, okay, at least they have commented upon whether it is there or not there. But I think product guidelines are very important, appraisal process, because that is where the main problem happens, that there are a lot of relaxation which takes place in the bank because of certain reasons, commercial reasons or otherwise. So I think product guidelines, whether it is being followed or not, I think that needs to be looked into. So the next is housing loan. I think this comprises more than 50% of the retail portfolio of any bank. Okay, right. SRA product, that is structured retail asset product. So what we have noticed is that on sample study of housing loan, it is observed that the majority of the cases, lapses are observed relating to defective title or overvaluation in security. So these are the main things which we have noticed. And this is the reason for this. What we have found out is that the same advocate or the same valuer are being given on repetitive basis. They are being given almost all the assignments in the branch. So we should see to it as an auditor of the branch that the same valuer or the same advocate is not given, it should be given on rotation basis. We should comment on that, because that is where the origination comes in, because the lawyers at times compromise on the report, then valuers compromise on the value, whatever inflated value. So those things I think we should be commenting upon in the report. Next is gold loan. Gold loan also is a very important product for PSG, for PSL portfolio. In the last financial year, 2020-21, there has been a huge surge in gold loan for all the banks, in fact. Hello.
Yes, sir. We are able to hear you.
In 2021, there has been huge surge of gold loans for almost all the banks in India. I think if anybody can say the reason behind it.
COVID may be one of
So
the
there are
reasons.
two reasons which, yes, COVID is definitely one of the reasons. Second is safe lending. And the third is security is fully backed and liquid. Because during the COVID period, banks become very averse to lending to different entities, mainly because of repayment capability. So what they did is that they were waiting for gold loans because gold price was quite high. It was, I think, anything between 50 to 55,000. So they were giving a good LTV to the borrowers, and borrowers were also happy and they were pledging their gold, and banks was also deriving benefit out of it. So if you see 2021 balance sheet of almost all the banks, the gold portfolio has increased. But then there are certain things which one needs to look at when gold loan are being sanctioned in a particular branch. It is observed that majority of the gold frauds were due to pledge of spurious gold ornaments and improper appraisal by the independent gold appraiser at the branch. In few cases, frauds were reported on account of pledge of stolen gold by the borrower, wherein the ownership was claimed by third parties through police authorities. Security was created as per product guidelines, and the bank could not make recovery from the borrowers and auction on the pledged ornaments. See, there are deficiencies within inside as well as with the gold appraiser. So if anything comes to the notice of the auditor relating to this, I think definitely you should flag out and see that those are addressed by the branch head. Because gold loan cases, see, there has been a number of cases where CVC and RBI had come down heavily on all the banks, because these are the main reasons for this. One is the spurious gold, second is stolen gold which has been given as security, and the third is improper appraisal by the gold appraiser. So these are the main three reasons, I think, three things which I think the auditor should look at when there is a gold portfolio in a branch. Next comes to vehicle loan. Vehicle loan on sample study of SRWTO and commercial vehicles. SRWTO are small vehicles, basically small like autos, then rickshaws, then taxis, and commercial vehicle cases. It is observed that majority of the lapses are pertaining to end use and monitoring. See, when we end use and monitoring, in this regard, it is suggested that before disbursement, branch officers should cross-check the account details of the authorized dealer through personal call or visit. So in this case, what has happened is that this end use of fund and monitoring by the bank officials were not carried out. I think these are the points. I think these are the triggers which I think the competent auditor or the auditor can give. Because in Bombay itself, I think Krishna ji would be aware that a major fraud has happened in multi branches in IDBI. So I think we have done investigative audit. So number of branches, the same kind of fraud has happened. I think partly the officers are responsible, and partly I think those triggers were not given by internal auditors as well as competent auditors. So I think this needs to be looked into. Then MSME or agri loan, term loan.
Again, sir, the voice is crackling.
Security creation.
Yes, now it is fine.
Is observed at the stage security creation, supervisory and monitoring. So I think these are very important things, which is post sanction, security creation, end use of disbursed loan, supervisory and monitoring. In many cases, we have seen that end use of disbursed loan, all the certificates were given, but later on we found out that security has not been created, or the machine or the asset has not come to the factory. So those are things which are very important, which needs to be looked into. I think the concurrent auditors are also expected to visit branches on sample basis, or units on the sample basis, so that they can have a feel of whether the assets are created or not, or for specific cases, not on all cases, but specific cases. So this is relating to your retail cases. So next we go to the corporate cases. Corporate cases are more interesting, very interesting in fact. So we have done an analysis, which I think will play.
Again, the voice is not clear, sir.
Now it is clear.
Yes.
Now it is clear. Now it is clear. So
Right, sir.
what I was saying is that corporate asset fraud cases, although we can say it's a flavor of the day, but even then I think we need to be doubly careful when we are taking corporate cases for statutory audit, or for that matter any kind of audit, management audit or any kind of audit. So I think what are the reasons for corporate fraud cases? I think we have done a study, as I have told you, on the sample, and whatever are the types of lapses or the frauds, I think it will be the same for all the banks. First is diversion of fund. Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir. We are able to hear you.
First is diversion of fund, which is frequency is 67%. That means in a basket of 100 fraud cases, 67 cases, this diversion of fund is there. Okay. So secondly, fudging or misrepresentation of financials. That is what we were discussing, that misrepresentation of financials means balance sheet fudging. So balance sheet fudging, when it is happening, statutory auditors play an important role. Statutory auditors and other auditors who are looking after for finalizing of accounts, trial balance and accounts, I think they play a very important role. And the percentage is 61%. That means 61 cases out of 100 cases, this fudging or misrepresentation of financials is happening. Third is stock or data is related. So what is happening is that in the balance sheet, they are showing high stocks, whereas when we go for visit, we see that inferior stocks, lower amount of stocks. So those kind of things are happening. Data is related means the data it is inflated mainly to get a DP advantage, drawing power advantage. But when ultimately when the company becomes NPA, we found out that most of the data are either non-realizable or fictitious. So stock and data related are almost 50%. That means out of 150 cases belong to under this category. Non-compliance to end use. Non-compliance to end use is this is mainly in case of term loan, because in CC it is difficult to get that end use, mainly through the stock statement and other statements. But in this non-compliance to end use is 28%. So that means for term loan cases mostly, non-compliance to end use has not been verified. Current account with non-lender. So earlier, before I think September 2021, all the banks were pressing for closure of accounts, of current accounts with non-lender. But ultimately, RBI has come out with a direction. Last direction was in November 2021, wherein they are given a deadline of December 31st for closure of all current accounts, wherein the banks are non-lender. Because what was happening is that the transactions were being routed through non-lender banks, although they were getting float, but those were not captured or it was not coming through the lending banks, where most of the accounts become NPA. The second last is related party transactions, RPT. Related party transactions comprised of 22%. 22%, it seems, is quite low, but I must tell you that volume-wise, I think related party transactions, although the percentage may be low, but I think volume-wise, amount-wise, this is the highest amongst all these things. So related party transactions through their group companies, associated companies, money has been routed. Okay. Then security related, then which is 6%, and then misuse of NAP facilities. NAP facilities mainly banks give LC and BG mostly, but there could be variations of that. SBLCs also could be there. But I think when we are discussing NBFCs, NAP facilities, I think mostly we are talking of LCs and bank guarantees. In many cases where fraud has happened, we find that LCs have been opened in favor of group companies. Entities which are not in the line of activity, LCs have been opened. Let's say a construction company. Construction company, what are the raw materials? Cement, steel are the main requirement of raw material, cement and steel. So what we notice is that LCs have been opened in favor of trading companies dealing with oil or any other product. So some kind of due diligence is also required for this misuse of these NFB facilities. Similarly, BGs, in many cases, we have seen that it is opened against group companies. So if it is opened in group companies, then whether to invoke the BGs or not is left with the borrower company. So we have seen that 28% of the cases, there is a misuse of NFB facilities. Now, when we talk of special investigative audit, I think the special investigative audit sometimes is being done. We are hiring chartered accountancy firms for doing special investigative audit, and also we are doing internal. Okay, depending on case-to-case basis. So in this, we find out the category of lapses. That lapses of pre-sanction, that is before sanction. The pre-sanction is around 83%. That means pre-sanction means at the time of entry level itself, there are certain lapses which has happened. So I think when the concurrent auditors are looking at the product guideline, I think they should see to it that pre-sanction lapses are avoided. Then appraisal related. This again is a product guideline, which is about 96% frequency, 96%. That means in a basket of special investigative audits of 100, there are 96 cases in which appraisal related lapses are there. Why I'm discussing special investigative audit? Because we are appointing concurrent auditors where special investigative audit has been undertaken. That is one of the criteria for appointment of concurrent auditors, because special investigative audit means there's something wrong happening in the bank or something wrong has happened in the bank. So that is the reason we are appointing a concurrent auditor. So the concurrent auditor should look at pre-sanction lapses, appraisal related lapses, documentation related lapses, security related lapses. So all are 83%, 96%, 74%, 46%. The disbursement related lapses are 43%. So I think these are the things which I think the concurrent auditor should look at. There are structured formats, of course, it is there. But over and above that, I feel if something is going wrong in the bank or in the branch, I think that should be highlighted. That should not be compromised. Any questions?
Manish, there are a few questions in the chat box.
I think I welcome questions, any thought process, because I think I have evoked a lot of terror among the CF fraternity through this session. But rest assured, I think nothing is perfect. Nothing is 100% perfect. We always try to do perfectly. But I think whatever is coming out should not be compromised. It should be documented.
Yeah. So currently there are no questions. There is only a comment where it says CS can reduce fraud at least 61% if audits are done properly. That's the only thing given by Amarnath Singla. You can go ahead.
CS can reduce?
Reduce fraud at least by 61% if audits are done properly.
Yeah, so I think I completely agree. I completely agree with the comments of the gentleman who has said that, because concurrent auditors are like special monitoring agencies for large corporates. Okay, so they are there on daily basis. I think that is the main reason why statutory auditors of the bank rely on concurrent auditors and internal auditors report when they are framing that LFR report. So I think importance has been given. And in fact, I must tell you that RBI, through the circular, last year circular, LFR circular, early, I think February or March, through that LFR circular, they have said that we have two arms. One is the statutory auditors, the other one is the internal auditor in the bank. Okay. So now statutory auditor is banking on internal auditors report and as well as concurrent auditors report. So I think because of limitations of time and other things, I think they have a back-to-back comfort. So I completely agree with the gentleman that content auditor, if they are doing a good job, if they are highlighting all the points without compromising anything, I think that can be a trigger for correcting the process or product or whatever, manpower, whatever can be there. Okay. So now.
There are a few more questions. Manishji, you can just.
Yeah, please. I'll be very happy because I am sharing all my live experiences. So I will not be going a theoretical part. So definitely I can take questions. No problem.
Yeah, there are no specific questions, but in general there are two requests where one has said Jayesh Panchal has requested, will you please share us kinds of frauds in banks with examples, and second has been throw light on profile of branch and type of audit that the branch is subject to. I don't know what
Okay.
that means.
Some branches are subject to, like, depending upon the total number of advances. This is Jayachandran from Chennai. So they are subject to ASM audits, they are subject to other audits, etc. Can you throw light on, on ASM audits and, what the reporting is? And, some of the branches are mostly retail branches. Some of the branches are service branches. Some of the branches are this very important, part. The branch audit which you're allowed to do. Some of them are like asset recovery branches. So please throw light on what we can do in asset recovery branches.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, as I told you, IDBI Bank has transformed into a private sector bank. So now we don't do that branch statutory audit, but what we do is that internal audit, concurrent audit, and when the essays, when they prepare the LFR, they go to selected top 20 to 25 branches. Okay, so I'll restrict myself to that. So now in concurrent audit, there are LCG, large corporate group, NMG branches, which are where we need category one.
Krishna Kumar ji.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm Odilal Pamecha here. Can I have one discussion with the Sarkar sir? Because I'm also handling one of the case of the IDBI Bank only, which saw difficult technique of the fraud.
Yeah, sure. I think we can share our experiences. We can catch up. No issues.
Yeah. So I'm a Odilal Pamecha. Presently, I'm looking one of the case of the IDBI Bank where I'm acting as a liquidator. The fraud, I think there is this case. What I'm looking is a year renewed by the bank. The primary securities, debtors and stock, and typically in stock there is no actually movement of the goods. How these debtors have been renewed year on a year when there is no movement of the goods? The facilities have been renewed year on year, and later on in bank, particularly classified as NPA. The question here come before the NCLT. I have filed application for avoidable transaction also, wherein one of the parties is the GST department and the Maharashtra department, saying if there is no movement of the god, it is a prima facie fraud. How this account have been renewed every year on year basis. Later on, these cases have been investigated by the CFO now also. CFO has also taken sumoto cognizance of the application, and this matter is now under the CFO. So the question is how the bank is also renewing this facility when there is no primary security, and collateral security is highly overvalued and there is no title clearance of this. So this kind of fraud is also happening.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. There could be aberrations, exceptions, but the fact remains is that when we do valuations, we take two valuations for any asset beyond 5 crore. So we take two valuations and we do that. So, but then over that is what I discussed with you. The second is relating to movement of stock and debtors. So I think I cannot comment on this because it is case specific, but definitely we look at each and every renewal. We look at stock statement. We look at FFR. We look at receivable, the quality of receivables, aging of receivables. All those things are looked after. But I think there could be. I cannot comment on the case specific issue which you are referring to. But I think
No.
if
So
it is
the
coming,
point of discussion is during the stock audits or something like that. That the movement of the actual movements of the goods and the title of the goods should also be checked by the auditors and the
Absolutely.
branch managers.
Absolutely. See, absolutely. So what we have done. So in fact, because we were feeling that I think stock audit format, because stock auditors are being done by external agencies, CAs mostly. So what we have suggested, in fact, is that we have changed the format. We have changed the stock audit format, which is more reflective of the quality, quantity, as well as other aspects which should be looked into by the stock auditor. So we have changed the format. That is one thing, which is more expansive. Second is basically relating to debtors and other things. I think I have not completed my this thing on, because we wanted to address each and every point. But yes, I take your point. Nothing's perfect. I think there could be aberrations. There could be unintentional, intentional.
No, I think I would also request you, sir, to share your
or,
number, because see, this matter is now under the CFO. We will definitely interact with the. I think I need to interact later on, because the matter has just now come by the CFO.
So Modilal, we can take it offline.
Right.
Sure, definitely.
Let it complete. Sorry, having some more.
It's my personal.
We will definitely discuss.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll definitely discuss. No issues on that. But only thing is that in fact, most of the economy facing banks have faced that route of frauds for the last 3 years. Why we have faced last 3 years? Because as per the 2018 DFS circular, any NPA above 50 crore, we have to undergo forensic audit to confirm whether there is a fraud or not. So that was the trigger for the huge surge of frauds for the last 3 years. If you ask me what is the reason for that, yes, that is the reason. Because before 2018, it was not compulsory for any bank or institution to go in for forensic audit. So
Right.
for the forensic audit profession as such was not hyped, or not, they didn't have so much of importance before 2018. If you go back history, you will say till 2017. Forensic audit assignments were how many in the bank, in the banking system? No, not much, few. And it was not compulsory, it was not mandatory. But from 2018 onwards, based on the DFS circular, that 50 crore and above NPA, all cases have to go through the forensic audit to confirm whether there is a fraud element or not. So that was the starting point of all the frauds being taken up. So then the NCLT came in. So the transaction audit started. So, I mean, forensic audit report, transaction audit report, these were the, through this process, all the anomalies, all the lapses, all the irregularities, both on behalf of borrower, third party, bank, whatever has happened, have came to the light. So, I mean, last 3 years have been tumultuous for the entire banking industry, and IDBI is no exception to that. But then we have cleaned our books. Our provision coverage ratio, I think, is around 97% plus. So I think we have provided most of the bad debts, and I think whatever recovery we make right now will go to the bottom line. But having said that, I think your point is well taken.
Yeah, sure.
We can discuss offline. We can discuss offline, because this is not the right forum for discussing who is responsible, who is not.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
So, the concurrent audit, as per the concurrent audit policy, LCG, energy branches, treasury branches, we require category 1 CA firms. For MCG branches, we require category 1 and category 2 firms. Trade finance centers, we require 1 and 2 category firms. And RBG, RSC, credit solution, CSC hubs, CSC means credit solution centers. In non-bank segments other than treasury, we can appoint 1, 2, 3, 4 category CA firms. Now, basically, in our concurrent audit policy also, we have put a chapter on performance of the concurrent auditors. So I'll just tell you, we have made it performance evaluation. So that all of you know, basically the parameters would be uniform for almost all the banks. So first is the attendance. The second is visits of the partner and attending briefing session. Second is issuance of balance sheet. Fourth is timely submission of report. Fifth is adequacy of coverage and quality of report. Then sixth is reporting of persistent irregularities regularly. seventh is effectiveness of content auditor in terms of rectification of irregularities and revenue leakage recovery. And so I think on that basis, we have calculated, and frauds also, detection of fraud. In case you can detect a fraud, you will get 25 marks over and above 100. Okay. So that means, let's say the qualifying criteria is 70 marks. If you find out a fraud in a branch, you straight away get 25 marks. So I think there is a huge importance given for detection of fraud cases early, so that we can take remedial measures. So this is about concurrent audit. So we were discussing about this frauds. What are the observations? Diversion of funds. So we discussed about the headlines. What are the types of diversion of funds? Diversion of funds, receivables from various other parties were transferred to related parties. Receivables from various other parties were transferred to related parties. So I think this is one point under diversion of fund. Second is promoter contribution was brought in unusual and questionable terms. There has been misrepresentation by the company in terms of equity contribution partly. Part of the equity contribution remained only in the books of the promoters and was transferred to group related parties. Promoters contribution routed through personal account of the promoter by making payments for another company. So this point, I think the auditors play a very important role. So when a promoter's contribution comes in for fulfilling one of the sanction conditions, I think the chartered accountants or the statutory auditors for that matter play a very important role. They should see to it that actual money comes in and it is not paper money which is coming in. Okay, it should not be on paper only. So I think this is one point. I think if due diligence is not being made by the statutory auditors, then I think we are inviting problems for ourselves. The borrower company has diverted funds to associate concerns for which status of realization is not known. Funds were transferred to its associate concerns which were located outside the country. Major chunk of the loan amount sanctioned and disbursed by the consortium of bank was taken abroad by dubious transactions and invested in overseas assets of the suspects. So in case anything like this comes up to the notice of statutory auditors of the company, borrower company, or maybe it comes up through any other process like SMAs, like special monitoring agencies, in which CFMs are also appointed. I think this should be brought to the notice of the banks, because later on, in case fraud happens because of these reasons, I think there will be no way out. So that I think these are the things which I think CS should definitely look into and comment upon. Funds were diverted to purchase personal properties in the name of director and its relative. So this is quite obvious. I think if this comes out to the notice of the statutory auditors, I think this should be brought out. Then ad hoc payments made to related parties while having recoverable balance from them. That means when receivables are pending, you are making payments to them. So this is one of the activities where diversion of funds has happened. Term loan disbursements are made for investment in various companies with commonalities to promoter entities. So this disbursement, term loan disbursements were made to various group companies who were in the activity or were not in the same line of activity. So this we have found out in some term loans which were disbursed. So part of equity contribution was adjusted in the books towards advance amount for equipment. However, could not produce any genuine or document or invoices to establish the veracity of the transaction. So I think this also CS firm or the statutory auditors play an important role. I think they should look at it where this adjustment in the books is happening, which is not supported by invoice or documents. The borrower company has given loans to related party which were written off subsequently in the books of account. So I think this is very frequently found out in many companies. I think one should be very particular about this and careful about this, and we should be commenting on this. Then routing of refund amount received in the current account maintained with non-lender bank was routed to various group companies. So I think this is one of the modes of diversion of funds through non-lending banks. It is diverted to the group companies. The company has repaid unsecured loans without prior approval from the lenders. So this is the requirement. I think maybe the statutory auditors or maybe the CF firms were not aware of this rule. But I think through this process, I can tell you that when the unsecured loans are getting repaid, prior approval of the lenders is required. Then substantial payments from CC or current accounts were made to related parties on regular basis. Again, the same thing. So I think this is leading to diversion of fund. There are other points also which we have noted down. There were around 25, 30 types of diversion of fund, which we have seen session, leading to fudging or misrepresentation of financial statements. I think over here, statutory auditors, management auditors play a very important role. I think which we have found out, loans and advances to related parties written off without any efforts of recovery. Then majority of business transactions were with few vendors and customers were linked to each other through commonalities such as a registered address, email address, past or current directors as directors of the vendors and suppliers. Returned goods were again sold to same customers at loss. The company continued to include outstanding from one of the debtors. Then fourth is advances for capital assets adjusted against trade payables. Fifth is provision for impairment of investments were not disclosed in the financial statements. So this is very important. I think provisions for impairment of investments were not disclosed in the financial statement. It directly attributes to the auditor of the borrower company. So I think we should be seeing to it that this impairment of investment based on the ICAI, whatever relevant clause is there, we should be able to do it. The company has created several connected parties as SPs with an idea to route certain transactions. So I think numbers are huge. I think we can discuss separately. But the main question which today what we are noticing is that this concurrent audit, internal audit, frauds, these are all interrelated. I think like in our internal audit department, we have strengthened the internal processes, rules, guidelines. Similarly, concurrent audit also, we expect that the concurrent auditors who are appointed, I think they do a thorough job on that. We will definitely try to protect them and see to it that they are not in any way penalized. But at the same time, I think now there are certain directions which we need to obey. We will see to it that what we can do on that. But I think concurrent auditors, internal auditors, as well as statutory auditors of the bank, these are the three legs of third line of defense of banks. So I think we need to see to it that we do a perfect job. So now we come to see. I will discuss in brief because we don't have much time on that. And in fact, Dr. Chopra has discussed in detail about IRAC, provisioning and other things. So I'll touch upon the important circulars which are there of RBI. I'll just inform the important circulars. The first is automation of income recognition, asset classification, provisioning process in banks dated September 14, 2020. Why I started with this is basically is that RBI has noticed to the inspection, annual inspection, that many banks do not have any automated method of identification of NPS as well as provision for NPS, including IDBI for that matter. Okay. So I think what we have done after that, we have automated it. We have made a system audit for that. We have made internal audit for that. And I think will be submitting the compliance to RBI within this month. So this is very important. I think the entire chain of process for calculation as well as for calculation, provisioning, asset classification, income recognition, everything should come out automatically without any manual intervention. I think you can go through that circular. September 14, 2020. I have a copy of that, but due to a shortage of time, I am not able to dwell on that. The second is the revised circular on classification, valuation and operation of investment portfolio of commercial banks, August 25, 2021. So this circular is relating to NPIs, non-performing investment. So they have almost, the rule is almost the same for NPAs, but I think there are certain additions which are there for HTM, AFS category investments. So you can go through it. I think when the concurrent auditors or or any other auditors are going, I think these circulars are quite handy. You can give it to them, they can go through it and accordingly take action. The next is relating to prudential norms on income recognition, asset classification, provisioning to advances, November 12, 2021. So there are certain amendments which have been made in the earlier circulars, which were there earlier. So I think this is the final circular which they have come out. In that they have said a few additions which are there, which we need to look at, reversal of income, then other things which are there out of advances. A lot of other things which they have included. I think you can go through it. I think you'll have a fair idea of the expectations of the RBI. Regarding LFR, I'll touch upon LFR in brief, because I think Krishna ji has told that there is a separate session on LFR.
Yes.
So I'll just touch upon LFR because it is quite extensive. So I'll tell you there are three sources of data which we feel. One is, there are three sources of data, and there is one more additional source of data which we'll discuss. One is factual source of data. Like let's say red flagged accounts declared as fraud for during the financial year 2021 with a delay of more than 6 months. So this is factual because the data fraud, detection of fraud, and the red flagging, there has to be a difference of 6 months. Within 6 months, you have to take a view whether to declare the fraud or not. Okay. So I think this is a factual thing which I think you can immediately get the data. Similarly, RFA status lifted during financial year 2021 with a delay of more than 6 months. So this is also factual. You can get it directly from the bank. Cases red flag as classified as red flag for more than 6 months as on March 31st, 2022. This also is factual. You can get it. Details of top 10 frauds reported during the year. That is also factual. Quick mortality cases as on March 31, 2022. That is also factual. NPA identified during the year of 1 crore and above, factual. So there are around 15 points, 15 annexures in fact, which are factual in nature, which you can get it immediately from the bank. You need not go through the system. The second is manual. The source is manual. Let's say risk rating and credit pricing is not correlated. Instances where limits are disbursed without executing necessary documents, creation of security, deficiencies in documentation are observed, rating of security document is pending. List of cases where latest ROC search reports in respect of creation of charge were not obtained or held on record. Then instances of valuation not obtained even after a lapse of 3 years, or 2 valuation reports not obtained for properties valued 50 crore and above. So this I think you'll have to get it manually. Okay. Then the third category is basically from the system, from the CVS, Finacle, all those systems. So you can get it pending deficiencies in SRA advances documentation based on SDU error report. This is, and PDDs. These are the two things wherein LFR report has maximum number of observations. Pending deficiencies in SRA advances documentation based on SDU error report and PDDs. The other things are instances where borrowers are sanctioned only non-fund-based limits against 100% FDR. The details of LC expired but not reversed till the date of audit. This is again system, you can get it from the system. Details of bank guarantee expired but not cancelled till the date of audit. This is again system related. And then details of overdue or mature deposit, that is system related. So these are three types of categories: manual, factual, and system. In addition to that, we have in our bank we have made a monitoring tool called Sajak. Sajak has got 19 parameters which we call CAP, corrective action parameters, in which these parameters are related to, let's say, visits not undertaken, insurance not taken, not renewed. Like that, there are 19 parameters for the entire loan life cycle of each borrower company. Okay, so from that Sajak, I think statutory auditors are getting access and they can see the position of tendencies and they can do the aging and provisioning, and accordingly they can take a call or the threshold limits. So this is what is about LFR mainly. But then I think since we have a detailed session on LFR, I think I'll restrict my time to this. So any point which we need to discuss further, I'll be happy.
No, I think Manish, are there one or two questions also, and we can open the floor for the question answer. So
No.
that
Yeah, we can open the floor for questions. If anybody have, they can raise. There is nothing in the chat box.
okay. So participants can unmute themselves one by one, and they can ask any question if they want. So any questions from participants? They can unmute themselves.
So they don't, they have questions, but they don't want to discuss in this forum, possibly.
No,
I had requested you to throw some light on ASM audits.
yes, sir.
ASM. So ASM audits are basically specialized audits in that we appoint, because this is special monitoring agencies or whatever you say, SMAs or ASM. RBI is having a list of all those auditors, CA firms, mainly big CA firms. And in fact, these are appointed by the lead bank in the consortium. Okay, mostly they are appointed by the lead bank in the consortium for exposure of 250 crore and above. Consolidated exposure, aggregate exposure 250 crore and above. So these are large ticket borrower accounts in which they feel that if there is some problem which is happening or there is stress in the account, then they appoint, not for all cases, but depending on case-to-case basis, they appoint CA firms who are empaneled with IPA.
Jayesh Panchalji, you were having one question. You are asking, you want to ask something? Some fraud, some example you are asking? Jayesh Panchalji? I think in the chat box he had written something that you can give the types of bank fraud with some example or something.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Some example if he is having.
In banking frauds, we have discussed. I think if you want to me to again highlight the main points, I think I can highlight. But we started the discussion with retail frauds and then corporate frauds. So I think if there is any specific type of fraud where you want to me to detail it out, I can tell.
So can you throw light on the domains, public domains where we can get details apart from ED?
So public domain, I think RBI has come out with the banking frauds. Important. I think it's quite extensive. They have done an analysis of all banking frauds, and they have come out with the types of banking frauds. Then what are the implications without naming the company? So they have come out with a compendium. I think you can access that. I think it's a public document.
It's in the RBI site, sir?
Yeah, it's in the RBI site.
Thank you.
So what I would suggest, see now, some CA firms are acting as forensic auditors, so they have systems in place like early warning signal systems or some other systems in place for doing that forensic audit. So what I suggest to it's my suggestion is that to improve your quality of audits. So there are systems or data aggregators in the market wherein what we are discussing about related party transactions, or maybe we are discussing about the diversion of fund to a group entities, so related parties. So what those packages, I think it's on subscription model. I think it's not very costly on subscription based annual model. So you can take all those and then it will help you in finding out this kind of anomalies, because once you feed in that the company name, immediately all the group companies names comes up, their directors, their charge position, their DIN number, all cross holding, entire web diagram comes out. That is the least to say. There are other features which are also there. It is loaded with features. So I think for medium-sized CA firms who are doing corporate accounts as a statutory auditor, I think this you should take it, because there are the features which these data aggregators are taking from 1,000 sources. So I think lot of analytical data is also provided in that industry comparison, intergroup comparison. No, those kind of analytical data also is there in those packages. So I think if you want, because that depends on your value of business which you are doing. I think if you find there is a value, I think you should get, because in IDBI, I was instrumental in implementation of the early warning signal way back in 2018. In fact, I was the first person in the entire banking industry to set up that early warning system. Okay, and my RFP after that has been copy pasted with full stop and comma, not to say by all the banks. Before we set up that EWS, only one or two banks had it, SBI and maybe one bank. But then it was very rudimentary and it was catering only to large accounts. So what I did is that when 2017 IDBI entered into the PCA, so we thought that we should address the retail portfolio also. So the EWS system is unique in the sense it addresses both the retail portfolio as well as corporate portfolio, which is one of its kind in the entire banking industry. So I think that's a thing which we have done with a good capital investment. I think it's up and running. It's the false positives are only around 5%. So I think it is doing fine. We have accepted the implementation. Like that, there are many packages of EWS which are there, depending on costs which are there, data aggregators are there. I think we need to leverage all these tools which are there with us, so that we know for certain what is happening in the bank, in the industry, or whatever it is. So that is one suggestion from my side. The second is from internal audit side, we are in the process of implementing a system wherein it is under me directly. I am spearheading that. It is called e-audit system. E-audit system means we will sit in the head office, and then around 80% of whatever my internal auditors used to go to the branches, let's say they used to go for 10 mandates. So that will get reduced to maybe 4 mandates. So balance work, it will be through system over here on T+1 basis, we will be able to know what is happening.
Okay.
So that is my brainchild again. So I am trying to install that. So RFP is already done. So I think we will be implementing that over the next 6 to 8 months. So that I think will reduce the cost for the bank as well as efficiency will increase. And on T+1 basis, you know what is the problem.
Right. Any other question from any of the participants? Okay. So, sir, we will take your expertise on this EWS. We will have another 1.5 hour, 2 hour session on this, because you are in.
I'm the author of that EWS, so I think I don't need any references.
So our participants will be benefited by that.
Yeah, definitely. Because I'll just take a minute, because see, with this, we have made a process manual in the bank. Okay, process manual after 6 months of study of all these things. Internal audit department under me has made a process manual, and we have found out not only the positive factors, but how we can improve the system or process, or whatever is the lacuna we need to fill up. So process manual for control gaps, that is the name which we have given. So we have done it. We have rolled out in the month of December. So it is very exhaustive. We have changed all the format circular within the bank. Product guidelines have been changed. So I think a lot of work has been done. So EWS is one area where we have said that it needs to be used extensively, not only for corporate cases, but also for retail cases.
Okay. So Jayachandran sir, you were asking any question in between, you had raised your hand.
No, sir, I was just clapping for such a good session.
Okay. Okay. Great. So though when I requested sir 3 days back, so he had formally accepted our invitation, and he told that there will not be any PowerPoint presentation from my side. But I told sir that since you had great experience of more than 2-3 decades, not in only audit, but in different credit fields, and you are instrumental to so many things. So your experience will, if you will share, so that will be our benefit, our participants will be benefited by that. And especially now at next 15 days, 20 days is the session for bank audit. So there are several members who are getting the bank audit, branch audit first time, those who are getting second, third times also, but every time we had to evaluate ourselves. New things are coming, new guidelines are coming. Now it is most the system based, what it was not earlier. So we all got benefited from your session. Now I request our past convener and coordinator for the day, CA Manish Dediaji, to formally give a vote of thanks to Sunit Sarkar. Over to you, Manish ji.
Thank you, Convener Ji, Krishna Ji. It's my pleasure today to be part of this session. Although I am not doing much of the bank audits, but got to learn a lot of insight along with the various frauds and technologies which people are using time and again to resulting into loss of government, banks, and public money. Sujit ji has today taken us through the concurrent audit report, various parts, explained us the importance of concurrent audit, which ultimately helps our statutory audit, which we will be using now to complete our audits in very time sensitive manner. This will definitely help us through planning, first of all, and thereafter taking appropriate decisions at appropriate time. He has also touched upon and explained the LFAR. No doubt he has not gone through in detail due to paucity of time, but he has explained most of it along with the examples, which is helps us to understand the concept very well. With this, I propose a very hearty vote of thanks on behalf of JB Nagar CP Study Circle, and thanks for sharing your experiences on Sunday afternoon. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much for the patient hearing. In fact, I must tell you that this is my third session with ICAI. In fact, the earlier two sessions which I had taken long back, in fact, maybe 10 years back, that was in Calcutta. But then I think I really enjoyed this interactive session, and I'll be very happy to share my experience in future also, if there is a requirement. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Before we close, sir, just there is one announcement. Next Sunday we are having a physical session on the same bank branch audit, and it is a 4-hour session divided into 2 parts. One part will be LFAR and other parts will be documentation and other aspects. So LFAR part will be taken by our past regional council member Jayesh Kala, and the other part will be taken by renowned chartered accountant Abhijit Sangiri. So I request all the members to be present there in the physical session at Hotel Kohinoor, and this will start at normal time of 8:45 and it will continue till 1:30 p.m. So with this we close the session, and we are once again thank you for Sunit Sarkarji for taking out time out of his busy schedule on this Sunday afternoon, and we got the benefit, and I am hopeful that with this lecture our members will be benefited. Thank you, and we are closing the session. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.